It's a wet Thursday morning, and it's my absolute privilege to welcome you to the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this together with Benjamin Akakpo. Now, if you've been following us for a while, you know we usually start with the first bulletin on this channel, and that's the AM News. I'll be serving you that in a bit, and after that, we'll be engaging first Dr. Sharif Mohammed Khalid, Associate Professor of Accounting and Finance, and government spokesperson on government and security, Paul Griff Wachidankwa, on the news review segment. And after that, Haruna Mumbarak will be back here with AM Sports, bringing you the latest updates in the world of sports. And today being Thursday, we bring you AM Exclusive. Now today we'll engage a diplomat and governance expert with international repute, Dr. Ishmael Nii Dodoo, a former UN official for the Sahel. Benjamin engages him today on a myriad of issues, both locally and internationally. You don't want to miss that conversation. Now, also, what's happening in this country, like I said yesterday, that needs our attention as journalists to pro for God and country. Minorities giving government 24 hours to clear all global fund locked up consignments from the pot or face their wrath, as they also demand the explanation to how an 80 million Ghana cedis allocation for counterpart funding was used. We'll delve into the issues and many others right here on the AM show, and we'll also bring you AM Business, today being a Thursday. Now, funding for tech entrepreneurs in Africa has fallen by 32% from the $5 billion received in 2022. We'll tell you why when James Ishen brings us AM Business later on today. So that's our lineup for this morning, but you're invited to join us with your comments and your thoughts, either via phone or across all social media platforms at Joy News on TV. My name is Sweetie Abochi. Welcome to the AM show. Let's start with the AM News now. This is the AM News. Details now, starting with the staff of the National Identification Authority has called off their strike, which began on Monday, to resume negotiations with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. In a press release on Wednesday, the NIA staff stated that their decision was influenced by interventions from various stakeholders, including the Minister for National Security, the FWSC, the National Labour Commission, and the public outcry from Ghanaians. And the statement reads, the Divisional Executives Council of Public Services Workers Union of TUC Ghana, NIA Division, have resolved to suspend its indefinite strike declared on 10th of June 2024, pending the outcome of engagements with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission on Friday, June 14th, 2024. The reason for this suspension is based on several interventions from stakeholders, including the Honourable Minister for National Security, the invitation from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to the negotiation table, the advice of the Mother Union based on the ruling of the National Labour Commission, and the public outcry of discerning Ghanaians. Now, it must be noted that the FWSC have assured us of their willingness to act in good faith in our subsequent engagement. However, this gesture will be put to test on Friday, June 14th, 2024. Members are therefore assured that if at the close of negotiations on Friday, the government fails to demonstrate true faith by granting us institution-specific allowances, we would not be hesitant to return to our industrial action. This must be noted. The statement further goes on to say, we hereby appeal to all members to report to work tomorrow, that is today, Thursday, June 13, 2024, and professionally discharge our duties. So that's that for the statement from the NIA division. So we're expecting them to return to their various posts today. In other stories, rainwater, which fills the drains of Aveno, are asking for immediate dredging to ensure the people in Aveno are asking for immediate dredging to ensure the waters flow freely to avoid flooding. With the onset of the rains, some of the residents who stay in the area and workers who operate there say they get scared anytime the clouds gather. They've been speaking to Hannah Odame in this report.
Grace Gavo, a trader who has stayed in this vicinity for 18 years, knows the dangers associated with her residency in such flood-prone area. But she cannot relocate, as she says, she cannot afford the rents in other parts of the city. She and her children are, however, always afraid of the occurrence of one natural element, floods.
Oh, it's not there. 18 years to 19 years. Oh, so third year. I
have lived in this area for the past 18 years. I have lost count of my property that has been swept away whenever it rains because the floods render us homeless.
Oh, because only baby I caught. And as I say, only scout behind that.
My children and I are forced to stay with relatives at La Paz until the rain subsides. My wish is to relocate, but I can't pay the rent in other parts of the city which do not get flooded. I don't like it at all when it rains at night. At least when it rains during the day, we find a way to escape. We plead with government to constantly dredge the lagoon so that it does not overflow when it rains.
Her plight is reiterated by Nana Kwame, a mechanic who recalls how all the workers run to safety when the rain starts. He's not happy that instead of enjoying the rain, they see it as a bane.
25 years. But
I have lived and worked here for the past 25 years. The big drain was not here by then, so it was very dangerous. The construction of the drain has been helpful, but the inconsistency in dredging it of all sand has been our problem. When the rain falls continuously, the water overflows its banks, and the force is strong enough to wash vehicles away. When it happens like that, we have to run for our lives. All we need is for the sand to be dredged, and with the onset of the rains, I plead with authorities to quickly act, or we will not hear good news.
Constantly losing her property to the floodwaters is an experience Doris does not want to keep up with. She also pleads for the dredging of the drains as soon as possible.
The drain has been overly filled with sand, which is washed inside by rainwaters. It impedes the smooth flow of the water in the drain. That is why when it rains, it overflows. I'm pleading that the drain is constantly dredged. All the wares I sell get washed away when the floods come. So I've devised a strategy. I store all my important belongings on top of a wardrobe. Then I go to a safe area until the rains are over. It was so sad last year. I could not stand seeing one of my favorite bowls being washed away. So I decided to chase it in the flowing water, but ended up getting hurt by a metal that was flowing in it.
The last time I flew last year, in fact,
From Aveno here in Accra, I am Hannah Odame for Joy News.
The Wa High Court, presided over by Justice Yusuf Asibe, has adjourned to July 12th the trial of Eliasa Mahama and two others for the alleged killing of the owner of Jirapa Dubai, Eric Johnson. The case was adjourned a couple of weeks ago to enable the court to verify the authenticity and direction of a letter purported to have been issued by Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono transferring the case following a petition from the first accused mother. Close family members and people of Jirapa were incensed and angered about the decision and called on the Chief Justice to rescind her decision. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam, who sat through proceedings, reports that the case has generated more petitions and the Chief Justice would like to do further consultations.
They came into the High Court in droves, traveling the 62 kilometers journey from Jiraba. It is a case of public interest and has no party colors. The Jiraba Member of Parliament, Kletu Sedu Dapla, and immediate past Jiraba Municipal Chief Executive, Christine Bombanya Amadou, are here to show their moral and unflinching support. They are united in grief and praying to get justice for the colossally slain owner of Jirapa Dubai, Eric Johnson. The case of Eliasa Mahama and 2 others versus the Republic was adjourned a couple of weeks ago to enable the court verify a letter purported to have been issued by the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Tokono, transferring the case out of the court to an unknown high court in Kumasi following a petition by the mother of the first accused. When the case was called today, the supervising high court judge, Justice Yusuf Asibe, told the court that several persons have petitioned the Chief Justice over the matter and will adjourn the case for a month to enable the Chief Justice has further and broad consultation on the issue. That got the principal state attorney, Said Abdul Shakur, and the lawyer for the first accused, Clement Iledi Standen. The banter between the duo was quick and hot. Lawyer Said was the first to draw first blood, averring that the one-month adjournment was long, considering the impending legal vacation pegged at the end of next month. Lawyer Clement Iledi pointed out to him that the wheels of justice grind slowly but surely gets to its destination. Lawyer Said agreed, but stated that when a spanner is deliberately kept on the wheels, there will never be movement and by extension, no justice. Despite the adjournment, the people of Yoruba are still incensed and angry about the decision to even in the first place transfer the case to Kumasi. Leading the charge is the MP of the area, Cletu Sedu Dapla.
And let me use this, your medium, to let the entire world to know that the people of Jirapa, for that matter, the Kumbire family of the late Eric Johnson, the youth and everybody are not happy with the manner in which the case is being handled. Truth be told, I'm not prejudicing the case, but it is, let me commend the police service, the Ghana Police Service, for doing a very thorough investigation about this matter. In my layman, observation, they've done a good job. They've come out with the culprits. They did fingerprints. They did everything. Monies were found. Monies of Eric were stolen, and they were found with the accused person. So many things. Eric has family. He has children. He has family. He has friends and everybody who think that justice must prevail. So that is all that the people of Jirapa are asking for. We are not happy. We can't be happy because we think that where they've done the investigations up to, the case should have been proceeded and then, judgment should have even been passed by now, because we think that the lawyers for the accused person are just, delaying, they are doing all these tactics to delay the case. Because this is where the crime was committed. The crime was committed in the Upper West region. The crime was committed in Jirapa. So once the crime was committed here, I think it is fair for the case to be tried here. That is all that we are asking for. So it's not wrong for the other 2 accused persons' lawyers to say that the case should stay in the High Court of War.
It is the belief of all and sundry here that they will never get justice if the case is transferred to Kumasi.
There are 3 accused persons. Today it came out in court that the other 2 accused persons, even their lawyers have petitioned the Chief Justice against the transfer. So where is the grounds for the transfer? In addition to that, I know the family of Eric and the people of Jirapa, all the youth have come together to also petition the Chief Justice. So where is the grounds for the transfer? What's the grounds for her delay? I mean, we think that some powers are being used arbitrarily and capriciously, and we are actually completely disgusted. We don't think that is the right way to go.
Once 2 or 3 against 1 is saying that they want the case to continue here. We are hoping that the next court date, which is 12th of July, trials will begin.
Reporting for Dway News, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Now, the program's director of Challenging Heights, a non-profit organization, Enoch Derry, has called on the government of Ghana to strengthen its child protection mechanisms to help fight child labor. He said if jobs, employment and income-generating capacities of families are put in place, children are less likely to fall victims to child labor. Mr. Ishmael Nii Dodoo made these remarks at a gathering to commemorate this year's World Day Against Child Labor in Tamale.
World Day Against Child Labor is set aside each year to highlight the issues of child labor. It also presents an opportunity to remind all stakeholders to improve the implementation of the two fundamental conventions, Convention 182 and Convention 138, concerning the minimum age for admission to employment or work. The theme for this year's celebration is Let's Act on Our Commitment, End Child Labor. Speaking at the event, Mr. Ishmael Nii Dodoo said all stakeholders need to rekindle their commitment in the fight against child labor.
We cannot achieve this without the necessary support and collaboration of stakeholders. Certain macro-level factors would have to be improved to facilitate the elimination of child labor. Key among these factors is for government of Ghana to strengthen its social protection mechanisms and to intensify efforts to alleviate poverty, to improve the socioeconomic lives of households. By boosting employment and enhancing income-generating capacities of families, children are less likely to be forced into child labor due to lack of basic needs. There is evidence that 60% of out-of-school children in Ghana are engaged in child labor. This means that any program or policy to improve children's schooling is likely to contribute towards the elimination of child labor. That is why at Challenging Heights, we say keeping children in school is our business.
The head of Anti-Child Trafficking Unit at the Northern Regional Headquarters of the Ghana Police Service, DSP William Ayaruga, said it is essential for government to strengthen existing laws and policies to ensure child labor is comprehensively addressed. The acting Northern Regional Labor Officer, Mustafa Al-Hassan, said they are making progress in terms of sensitization to end the menace.
Identify child labor issues. We are supposed to refer to the Department of Social Welfare, and they are supposed to remove the children from the activity of child labor. So if there are no resources available to social welfare, it hinders the promotion and the sensitization or the withdrawal of children in child labor. So we will call on government to resource the necessary agencies.
The paramount chief of the Chogo traditional area, Na Muhammadu Al-Hassan, reiterated the need for traditional authorities to be committed in the fight against child labor in the region.
The New Patriotic Party in the Central Region is asking the opposition National Democratic Congress to abandon what they describe as a cloak of violence in every election-related matter in the country. According to the NPP, the shooting incident at Ewutu-Senya East and other pockets of violence that are beginning to rear their heads in the region is engineered by the NDC and should be condemned. Central Regional Secretary of the party, Richard Techi-Mensah, has been addressing a news conference.
It beats the imagination of the group of Ewutu-Senya East that NDC hoodlums could go to the voter transfer center in Kaswa with clubs and knives and stab Mr. Atukumsin, a son of Honorable Hawa Kumsin, and one Ken Adewu. Friends of the media, it was all peaceful throughout the period of the EC's 23-day limited voter registration exercise in Kaswa. Both the NPP and the NDC were at the registration center, and it was very cordial between the supporters of these two parties at the center, to the extent that so many supporters could go to Honorable Hawa Kumsin to request for some of her food packs that she had prepared for the NPP registration agent and other people at the center. As loving and kind as Honorable Hawa is, she never hesitated in giving it to them. She was at the registration center throughout the period, and at no point that an incident occurred that one could result in stabbing someone. The same cordial relationship existed at the center when the transfer of votes exercise began. It will interest you to know that Honorable Hawa Kumsin was not even in the country, let alone to be at the center on that fateful day of June 2nd, 2024, when her son was attacked and start by the Richard Asiedu and the East Ambassador of Violence Commission tax. This dastardly act occurred in the presence of the police. To the glory of God, Mr. Atukum Sin and King Adewu are really responding to treatment. We are aware that those bloodthirsty NDC hoodlums who committed this heinous crime are before court facing the law.
Now, Registrar of the Scholarship Secretary, Dr. Kingsley Ajiman, has urged the students of his alma mater, Pope Jones Senior High School, to uphold the ethos of moral uprightness and discipline because it is the catalyst for excellence. Speaking at the 63rd Speech and Prize Giving Day, Dr. Ajiman said the school has all that it takes to propel them to excel in their endeavors.
For your peers to, nominate you as the special guest of honor for a school that you attended, I think is very humbling. And this year's Speech and Prize Giving Day was organized by my year group. So it's my peers. So it was very humbling and very, 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 very touchy, if you should ask. If you want to go very high, you have to come down very deep. So the foundation is as good as the structure. For me, donning the colors of the yellow and the blue means that it is through these walls or within these corridors that characters are formed. It is not easy, or it is a very privileged position to, have a mission school, because there's a Catholic school, the ethos of Catholicism. That is one of the aspects of the themes for this 63rd Speech and Prize Giving Day, and we were guided religiously. It is well documented in literature that academic performance, moral uprightness, and discipline, there's a correlation or there's an association. You can't treat the other without the other. They move together. So we told them to, grab the ethos of Catholicism, that is the morality aspect of it, work very hard. Pope John, we work so hard. It is not surprising that we produce a lot of high-flying people. As you see, this is a pure boys' school, but we have everything. So they should keep pushing themselves up. And we've been here, various year groups that came here. It's a clear testament of what Pope John can make them become. So I believe the boys are fired up, and they'll be doing better, or they'll improve upon themselves in the coming WASI and stuff like that. Don't forget that we are the current regional champions for the National Math and Science Quiz.
Now, bouncing back from last year's setback, one-time champion St. Thomas Aquinas has kick-started their quest for a second trophy with a resounding victory in the regional qualifiers. The Old Toms, who've been faced with heartbreaking defeats in the past 3 years, are now eyeing the regional crown with newfound confidence. My colleague Adobe Asari has more in this report.
Before the contest began, St. Thomas Aquinas, fondly known as Old Toms, were brimming with optimism, ready to ace the regional qualifiers.
So she expects nothing but the best from us, and we pray that God grant us victory at the end of the contest.
After an electrifying clash with Tema, Ningo and Olam Senior High, the Old Toms emerged victorious.
We are feeling very excited because this wasn't a competition for us. You see, when you see all the schools that competed against St. Thomas Aquinas Senior High School, they are never a match to us. In St. Thomas Aquinas Senior High School, we don't say but, we don't say if, we don't say maybe. What we do is absolutely the best.
It's baby! It's baby!
So you have won the trophy just once. Do you see it happening a second time?
Yes, it is happening this year. It is happening this year. Because you can see from yourself that by yourself that the way our boys performed, this year we are taking it. Who is Presec? Presec won it last year, right? We are taking it this year. And it isn't far from us.
Who is Presec? Who is Presec? Who is Achimota? Who is who? we are coming. We are coming.
West Africa Senior High and St. John's Grammar, overjoyed after securing their spots in the national championship, shared their excitement and ambitions.
Overwhelmed. Like, I'm so happy. Like, I'm so happy.
In fact, we are going to win. We are going to scatter. We are going to, in fact, we'll scatter everything. The regional championship. Hey, we saw that some scouts were around, but we don't fear anything. You see, we are West Africa. We come from the West, so.
God, that is impossible. So I'm not.
Listen, the heat we are bringing, unless they go and they fed the Antarctica is going to quite on us. We can never come down.
The best. They always come from the West.
The thing is, there are only 2 schools in West Africa. It is West Africa Senior High School and the rest. You understand? And God is a Wazarian. They thought I was joking. God is a Wazarian. So we are going with victory. And we are coming with victory. So expect nothing but the best.
When coming, bring the fire service. Make sure you bring the fire service here because you are going to burn this place here. Make sure you bring the fire service here because you are going to burn this place. Period.
Right now we are feeling so excited. We can't even express how we are feeling. Like, woo, we are so happy because we knew we would win when we were coming. So as we were coming here, we were just telling the other schools that they shouldn't panic. We just came to have fun. But right now we are here. We've qualified for the regional, so we are only wanting to meet other big schools like Presec to show them that we are also St. John's. We've prepared right from the very beginning. Our coordinators are always with us, teaching us everything we are supposed to learn for this contest. So we've prepared from the very beginning, and God too has been with us through this. So the victory is ours.
We are coming like a roaring lion. We are coming like a roaring lion.
We are coming, so they should be ready. So they should move. Make them move. We they come. Dodge.
We want to meet schools, so we don't want to meet cubicles. We are meeting schools. We don't want to meet cubicles. Now we are coming.
Meanwhile, second-year students of Holy Trinity Senior High, disheartened by their final results, have vowed to rise to the top in the next season.
Though that the gap was very huge between WAS and Hotcast, however, we are the Form 2 students standing for the NSMQ next year, and we promise you guys that we will take the regional qualified. Do you yes, we are going to take the regional qualified next year, and it's a must. So everybody should watch out next year.
All regional qualifiers and outstanding schools are set to face off for regional championship on Thursday and Friday. Adobia Saris report for Joy News.
Coming up next is Business Updates with Benjamin Nakaku.
Welcome aboard. Now, the IMF will in the coming days set a date to meet on Ghana's second program review and approve some $360 million for the country. This was after the official creditor committee formally informed the IMF about the debt restructuring deal reached with Ghana. There's more in this report.
Joy Business is learning that the official creditor committee, in an email, formally communicated to the IMF about this development and the impact on the whole debt restructuring and sustainability going forward. Now, based on this development, Ghana has now met all the conditions needed for the IMF board to meet on the country and approve the second tranche funding to government. The fund was initially looking at financing assurance from these bilateral creditors, but it looks like the IMF now has more than what they were even looking forward to aid this meeting on the country. This development will also trigger other donor funding for Ghana in the coming days.
And that's it for our business update this morning. Handing over back to Sweetie Abachi.
And it's a wrap for the AM News. But stick with us. There's news review coming up next.
Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for the news review, and we're joined by a special guest. We may just have another guest joining the conversation, but as and when that is possible, I will let you know. But this segment is always brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here's what they're offering you, as always. 1, if you're a man, prostate screening for free, gratis. You'll not pay anything. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. You will not pay a farthing. All you need to do is make your way to any of their branches. And thankfully, there are many of them. Let's start with here in Accra. They're at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronomo Abuehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex. Then there's Takrady Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa, and Siaman Zama. You can also reach them via phone on, are you ready? 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But only the commencement of the newspaper review, and we're joined for now by Paul Grave Boache Dankwa. He is a government's spokesperson on governance and security matters. He joins the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin.
It appears, let me just say this and tease you because we are like that. It appears you are in a comfortable lead when it comes to the grades. You are in a comfortable lead. though we operated around the same, I just found out this morning that I graduated from senior secondary school before he did. And I looked at his hair and said, no, this is not a fair reflection of, is it the politics?
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
Is it the politics?
Well, I think it's the level of responsibility that we have equated to ourselves and the service that we want to render to the good people of this country.
Oh, so you think my burdens are lesser than you?
I believe that's so, very much so.
You believe so?
I think so. I think your burdens are lesser.
You know what is funny? When former President Barack Hussein Obama, people often leave out the Hussein for certain reasons, we all know. After taking over the presidency, he was a senator, all right.
Very much.
But when he took over the presidency, after a while, Charlie Opana went all white. Hey.
You sleep less, you work hard, you make multiple decisions. The lives of people are in your hands. The country's future is in your hands. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
I would have said same for the president and his vice, but I don't know. But the former president...
You say that they don't have hair.
No, I'm trying to say that I can't see evidence.
No, you can't see evidence of their grey hair. That's
I can't.
To say.
I can't see evidence.
The evidence of their hard work is seen by the Ghanaian people.
Oh, no, it has not. I'm not saying that, I mean, they've not worked hard, but I'm saying that I can't see it.
No, there's a lot
But
of
the
work
former president, Mahama, same thing happened to him, you recall.
Because
when he was minister...
He was hair. He had hair.
When he was minister, and then you look at the transition to vice, and then all of a sudden, Charlie.
Very much.
But it's a funny thing I have observed with politicians over time.
2 years ago, my hair was not like this, and so it keeps growing and growing. I'm sure by the time we enter into our next government of 2025, led by Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, it will be a lot more. People are encouraging me to diet, but I think that I will not.
They're encouraging you to what?
Diet. I will not obstruct. I will not obstruct natural justice of God's blessings over my life.
All right. Well, great to have you here join the conversation this morning. Let's get into the papers. But before we do, we always do something. We give about a minute and a half for our guests to reflect on something. A burning issue. What are you going to be reflecting on this morning?
I'm going to be reflecting on the leadership that the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has brought in the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the bold decisions for the next chapter of this country from 2025.
Okay, so if that's it, then we can get into the papers?
Very much so.
Let's start with your stack. Instead of starting from here, let's start with your stack. You have the Daily Guide?
I do. I have the Daily Guide. Otumfuo Lord Bawumia. You are respectful and humble. NDC kicks against free SHS bill. Gamanche leads Clean Accra campaign. The Daily Guide.
Yeah, so you can get into the stories.
Page 3. Otumfuo Lord Bawumia, you are respectful and humble. The Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II has described the new Patriotic Party presidential candidate, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, as a humble and respectful person. According to the Asante monarch, despite occupying the revered vice presidential seat for nearly 8 years, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia hasn't changed as he's still humble and respectful. The Asantehene has therefore admonished the MPP presidential candidate to continue to remain humble and respectful to all manner of people whom he would have an encounter with. I know you, quote, I know you have not changed, and I will urge you to continue to be humble and respectful to all manner of people you will come your way as you explain your vision to transform Ghana to them, end of quote. He said, Otumfuo made the comments when Dr. Bawumia led his campaign team and other MPP members to pay a courtesy call on the Asante Hene at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi, and on and on and on and on. Dr. Bawumia's competence. The Asante Hene also stated that he knows that Dr. Bawumia has what it takes to lead the country as president, but he was quick to advise him to work hard towards his dream. I know very well, and I quote, I know very well, and I know you can work hard as president, Otumfuo pointed out, and added that I will pray for you, reiterating that Dr. Bawumia should explain his policies to the citizenry. You have disclosed your vision to transform Ghana to me here today, and I would encourage you to visit the nook and cranny of the country and thoroughly explain your vision to the people, he said. He said President Akufo-Addo saw something special in Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, so he appointed him as running mate and eventually vice president, and that alone shows the competence of Dr. Bawumia. Otumfuo also urged Dr. Bawumia to let the people know what the present NPP administration could not do and tell them what your plans are, and on and on. I think it's a very long story, but that is what the Daily Guide has to say.
Okay, so too quick, you spoke about...
The NDC.
Yes, show business model, and then you spoke about... let's go to the front page. I just want to take a look at that. NDC kicks against free SHS bill. Would you like to talk a bit more about that? Because yesterday, for example, we had a discussion, a full-scale discussion on that. Professor Toku of the UCC, among others, joined the conversation. And people are asking the question, why now? I don't know whether you're aware, but technically, the technical people will tell you that there's no official policy framework for free SHS. That is one. You've been told time without number to review free SHS because in its current state, no one says, mind you, the bottom line is that education is good. And if it is free, even better. No one is countering that. I believe Angel Kabonu made mention of that no one is contesting that or even its legality because it has its foundation from the Constitution. But there's no proper policy framework. You enter an agreement with the IMF. They are running your program, and you tell them, per your own discourse, that you're going to review and rationalize. You've not done that. You've not done any of that. Now you come saying you are presenting a bill, like Professor Tuku asked yesterday. Are you presenting a bill on the former SSS or what the Constitution says, or on free SHS in its current form? Because that is the question that is being asked. But as usual, the Daily Guide captures it in a certain way. But the opposition has said that we are only refuting it on the basis of this. If the right things are done before it's presented to us, we'll go ahead with it. Your take? I think that yesterday I followed the conversation, the floor of the House. I followed Clement Apak's conjecture about the fact that the minority side of Parliament is not entirely against free SHS. And our government as well has been able to implement free SHS to its barest admiration. I would disagree with you entirely that we do not have a policy framework as it is, because there's no way we would have been able to implement such an admired and adored policy if there's no policy framework of that nature. I am telling you from the discussion we had yesterday, and if you have any contrary evidence, I would give you time. In the coming days, I can't say now, it would not be fair. Absolutely. In the coming days, provide that. We had Peter Nochu Kotwe, you know him. I do. Ranking member on the Education Committee. He told us that as far as he is concerned, ranking member on education, they don't have it. Other members, in fact, Professor Toku and others also mentioned, there's nothing like that. So I don't know where Benjamin, you think... No, you see, Benjamin, I find it very strange for a government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to implement a policy of free SHS and not have a policy document. It's not possible. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm going to... Because if you look, there was a free SHS secretariat that was set up at the time when Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh was Minister for Education. Okay. There is no way we would implement a free SHS policy, as we have done from 2017 to date, have thousands and millions of young people benefit from that policy. Going to school for free. Government has taken the cost of that, and there is no policy document. It's not possible. I was stunned too but they point to ad hoc measures by which they have been running. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll not belabor the point. I double dare you, if you find a complete document, policy framework, concrete policy framework on free SHS, share it with us.
I would, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll get back to you
right.
on it. But I think that it's clear to state that as a new patriotic party, and even as a government of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, some policies that we campaign on now becomes a civic responsibility of the Ghanaian people, which is why the legislative arm of government needs to relook at a number of bills that come across. And I think that is the framework that we want to see that is amended, and also we want to see that it comes into a bill and then finally into a law, so other governments that would come would not want to move it away from their policy direction as it relates to the education. Education is not something that we can continually play politics with, because it's the bedrock of the future of this country. And I think that President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo saw it right to give equity and opportunity to many young people who otherwise would finish junior high school and not have an opportunity to further on their education. That has become a thing of the past under the leadership of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And we commend that. I can agree and appreciate that there are various dimensions that the Ghanaian people would have wished that we look at as it relates to free SHS, in terms of those that can afford it, affordability, and those that cannot afford it. So at least we can be able to save some aspects of government spending and coffers. But we can't lose sight of the fact that there are many more people who would not have ordinarily benefited from free SHS that President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has made that a possibility.
Quantitatively, everybody would say that yes. Qualitatively, I don't know. The products, the other day in-house, we were reflecting on some recordings we had out there with some students at the secondary level. I am now beginning to understand why my friends who are lecturers at the tertiary level keep complaining about the standards. And I feel, you see, no one is against education that is free. But if the products we are putting out there don't meet a certain pedigree, mind you, these people are not just going to be competing in Ghana. We don't want them to be local champions. Me, I'm not touting myself. I've been to different parts of the world. Everywhere I go, I compete fairly. And I ace it in many ways. How many of such students here, okay, can do that on a global level? Some of them it is. And I've actually lectured in some of these international schools. Trust me, their standards versus ours, I don't know where we are headed. But we owe so much. Free SHS, a lot of them are hungry. Okay? Some are without bunk beds. Buffer stock, what's the situation? WAEC is owed money. They need. Is this the kind of education we want? Then you look at the fact that, listen, F³ constitutionally, apart from the basic level, there's supposed to be continuity. Nkrumah started something of the sort, even to the tertiary level. That's how I have uncles who studied in Germany, Russia, and all of that. Back then, there were systems in place, scholarships, and all of that. But while I can agree partly with everything that is being said, I don't know about hanging this around the neck of everybody. But I'm saying, if we want to do this, then things that the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission, is always crying about. For example, abandoned projects. We should legislate on some of those things too. So that you can't come, though the Constitution touches on it, the MPP, NDC, you are not following it. So that if you come, then those are also legislated. You can't avoid doing them, like we've done to Saglemi, like we did to that housing project before started, like we've done with some roads and all of that, like we've done with the E-blocks. Just my thinking, but let's get on to other stuff.
No, Benjamin, just to state that the products of free SHS is very credible, because in recent times, some part of last year, there were some students from either Prempeh or Pokuwari who competed in a global event and won some awards and brought back to Ghana. I recall that a statement was released from the Ministry of Education as it relates to that. It's not a failure entirely. There are good products that have come, and I think that if you look at the products, it far outweighs those that you would think that are not meeting up to the cutting edge of what is happening in the various tertiary universities. And we have made free SHS in a way where now there are STEM education. So we have the science, we have the technology.
Let's not say now.
Oh, no, but then there's a focus. It's been there. But Benjamin,
there's a certain drive, but let's not act like now.
There's a clear focus. No, okay, Benjamin, there's a clear focus, okay?
Right.
And an emphasis of science, engineering, technology, and mathematics to make sure that you're growing young people who are focused in this area, and you're having that from kindergarten all the way through to tertiary levels. That was not something that existed. And then also you've seen the level of technology that we have brought into the various schools. Now they have touch screens in their classrooms that they are using to teach themselves. The laboratories as well are there. There are those that are doing drones, those that are doing helicopters. So entirely, if you look at all of what is happening within the educational space, you can give a tap and a back at President.
Well, no one is saying you can't give any credit at all. No one does something without any credit.
Very much.
I mean, the education minister, I know, for example, that I think in his constituency, he sponsors some students for engineering and all of that. He's done that for years. Kudos to him for that. There has been a focus on STEM. All I'm saying is don't make it seem like it's a now thing. It's always been there. It's not now.
But it's a clear focus.
But there's an enhancement.
Yes, an enhanced, then a clear focus.
Let's get into other stories.
So in other stories.
Are you done with the Daily Guide?
Well, yes, I think I'm done with the Daily Guide.
Okay, then let's do the new Finder newspaper.
So the Finder newspaper, inflation has dropped to 23.1% according to Professor Samuel Nii. I like your smile. Ghana Official Creditor Committee agreed debt relief reforms. IEA reiterate calls for independent fiscal council. So maybe we can go into the inflation on page 5. So the year-on-year inflation rate fell for the second consecutive month to 23.1% in May 2024 from 25% in April 2024. This rate is the lowest the country has recorded in the last 26 months, with food inflation contributing significantly to the overall decline. Food inflation decreased to 22.6% from 26.8% in April 2024. We have seen for the second consecutive time a drop in the year-on inflation by 1.9 percentage point to the current year-on inflation for May 2024, standing at 23.1%. Professor Samuel Nii, Government Statistician, speaking at the release of the Consumer Price Index for May 2024 in Accra, he explained that the prices for goods and services between May 2023 and May 2024 increased by 23.1%. The CPI measures the changes in the price of a fixed basket of goods and services purchased by household, with the assumption that any price change on a month-on-month basis affects the total price of the basket. This indicates a slowdown of 1.9 percentage points relative to the year-on-year inflation recorded in April 2024, the government statistician explained. On a year-on-year basis, the 23.1% recorded for May 2024 is the lowest rate of inflation recorded in the last 26 months. He said between March and May 2024, there was a decline from 25.8% in March to 25% in April, before the further decline to 23.1% in May 2024. Providing a disaggregation, Professor Nii stated that there was a 1% point difference between the food and non-food inflation, with the food inflation at 22.6% and the non-food inflation at 23.6%. This is the second consecutive time we have seen a drop in food inflation. In March, food inflation stood at 29.6%, declining to 26.8%, and for the second time in a row, it further declined to 4.2% point to 22.6% in May 2024, he said. So I mean,
we don't have to
read
the entirety of the story,
okay.
But basically, I'm just going to ask you this.
I think that basically he's just commending what government is doing.
Yeah.
The reality.
I mean, we hit 54%. We came to the low 20s. Then it shot up again to 25, and we're coming back. I just have an interesting question for you. Do you go to market?
I do.
You do?
At Chimota Market.
Do you know the cost of a tomato?
I do.
How much is it?
So you see.
No. Let's not do. We'll get to the UC part. Just answer my question. How much is the cost of one tomato?
One. Oh, but they don't sell one tomatoes.
Benjamin. You don't go to the market.
Benjamin. They don't sell. They put it together.
Even in Takrady.
No, they put it together.
No, I'm telling you.
But they put it together and
they are selling one tomato for 5 cedis. The least you will get today.
Sometimes you get
one tomato for 4 cedis.
2 cedis.
2
cedis, 50 pesos.
Where?
Achimota Market.
I wish we could reach out to our friends at the Achimota Market.
Achimota Market.
And well, maybe it may depend on the size.
That is what I'm telling you. That is what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. Even plantain. No, you see, I know that prices are high at some places that you go to. Right. I go to the market at 4 a.m. When you go to the market at 4 a.m., you get the prices very, very affordable.
First bus.
Even sometimes you can go at 3 a.m. Sometimes I go to Doboro, sometimes I go to Achimota, sometimes I go to Dome. I buy my plantains from Dome. I buy my onions from Doboro. I buy my chicken from Achimota.
So before we get to the pricing again, Paul Wachidankwa is saying that if you want to, wake up at 4 a.m. and go to market. And
that is all. Go to 4 a.m. That's what my mother taught me. 4 a.m.
I think this will make an interesting headline.
Nice.
Wachidankwa, government spokesperson on governance and security. Go to market at 4 a.m. to get good prices.
And fresh goods. Then you get nice.
I mean, you remind me of a time I would go to Agbubuloshi very early. But the point is, let's face it, the cost of living is outrageous, and the cost of food itself. I know you followed some of what we've done here. I don't need to belabor the point. There are people who say, oh, I know this. There's this Nana Prempe. I don't know how to call him, but he's obviously enamored with your party and can't see beyond your party. So whenever I'm doing something, he'll be sending in messages. The last time we were saying that a box of tomatoes has moved from 1,500 cedis in January last year to 7,000. He was saying 6,000 and the rest. But the cost of basic items, plantain, cassava, for those who love fufu. I don't eat it, so I'm safe from that. Even corn dough, oil, your zomi, and the rest. It is outrageous. As for fish, don't go there. You don't want to touch fish. You have to manage your... And I hear an egg is now what? In some places, 4 cedis. But...
For one egg or the crate of egg?
4 cedis for a crate of eggs. Paul Grave, which university do you live in?
No. But you see, you buy the crate of egg. Sometimes you see when you buy the crate of egg, it's cheaper than buying one.
I have one Prince Atakra saying 1 tomato is 5 Ghana cedis. I don't know where you buy, but anyway, maybe I'll try the Dawn thing.
Yes, it works, Benjamin. It really does.
And see whether anyway. But let's get into other stories. As for this bit about inflation and I don't know, but okay. So I have a message from Isaac Azombo, but it's not pleasant. I'll not read it because he disagrees with it vehemently, and he says Achimota Market is one of the most expensive markets in Accra. But Isaac, I will ask you: do you go there at 4 a.m.? Because that is the advice of Paul Grave Wachidankwa. Go there at 4 a.m. and if you don't get it at 2 cedis or something, please, next time I'm doing the news review, come and let me know. But Nana Prempe, I see you've been sending in a lot of messages from time to time. Careful you don't develop blood pressure issues, because me, the way I am is the way I am. Very thick skin, and I speak my mind, and I will not change. I was, I am, I will be. So you might have to reflect, else your blood pressure will me. Anyway, let's get into other stories before we leave you, and then I will do my stack of papers.
Well, yes. So I think that, Benjamin, I mean, a lot more is going on in the new patriotic party. Our flag bearer, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, proposes Ghana's next chapter.
Right.
This is what he launched in February.
Which chapter is that? Chapter 1 or chapter 2?
Oh, the next chapter of Ghana.
No, which chapter?
The next chapter of Ghana.
Which chapter?
After President Nana Dodoo Akufo-Addo.
Okay. So which chapter are we in now?
No, the next chapter of Ghana. We are in the leadership of President Nana Dodoo Akufo-Addo. Okay. And the next chapter of Ghana under the leadership.
The next chapter is where the vice president gets the steering, right?
Well, the next chapter is where the vice president constitutionally is sworn in as the president of the Republic of Ghana, the executive, to lead the executive arm of government. That's the next chapter. And we've done our first round of 16 regions. We are certain that in the shortest possible time, we're going to roll out our manifesto. We'll also roll out the announcement of our running mate and then would roll out a door-to-door, constituency by constituency campaign. I'll tell you one truth. The 2024 general election, our political party, the New Patriotic Party, under the leadership of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, we're going to campaign 5 times harder than the opposition party. And I mean, no doubt in my mind that the digital drive, the digital agenda that we have set in place, the addressing system that we have put in place, the the passport office that is online, the motor insurance that you can check online, the DVLA that we have digitalized, the birth and death that one child that is born would have a unique identifiable number from birth to death. The internal Ghana.gov.
I get the bit. Digital Bawumia.
Digital Bawumia.
Yeah.
Improving the livelihood of Ghanaians through digitalization and ensuring that the 4th industrial revolution, which is digitalization, becomes the drive.
I get
so
the point.
I mean, live in a country
I know for all of you who are
accessible,
who are hoping to transition into a Bawumia government, you come on our shows and you are very articulate. I get that. I think you've done your job.
It's still a New Patriotic Party
on the digital
platform.
Yes. Hopefully, you guys can also do something more on the economic platform, especially with where Ghanaians. Do you know how much every Ghanaian owes currently? If we divide our debt, you know how much we owe.
If you divide
I asked you a simple question.
No. Hold on. Are you dividing your debt by the working class of Ghanaians or by the population of Ghana? Because if you look at the population of Ghana, it's increased by an extra 2 million people. That's about 34 million. If you divide your debt and you are looking at my 2-year-old daughter, you can't give a bill to my 2-year-old daughter who does not work. So are you dividing it by the 17 million people that are voting, or are you dividing it by the working class of the people? You have to put the mathematics together. I know you and I, one day we need to go and do a mathematics competition. Because, I taught mathematics when I was in my school.
I see.
Maths and commerce.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I believe you're done.
Yes. I mean, I just want to be able to present the candidature of Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud.
I think you've done that. So let's get into other papers. If there's more time, then we'll get into that.
Absolutely.
Daily Graphic, purge toxic political space. Afenyo Markin urges media. Who is to purge it when you yourselves have fostered it? I say that it takes one person to come who is leader of this country and say, I'm not going to go down this road of this and that, and then some things will change. But when you're doing it and you say, don't do it, who is going to? But the story says, the majority leader in Parliament, Alexander Afenyo Markin, has called on the media to throw their weight behind national efforts to detoxify the unhealthy political atmosphere in the country to aid the cause of democracy. You people, or you create them, who make it detoxify them? Anyway, he said the present environment was too toxic, especially in an election year, stressing that the media must prompt politicians to be mindful of pronouncements that undermine peace and stability. He says, quoting him, if we do not get pinned to do the right thing, we may think that for the sake of votes, we should say whatever we want, and these do not help democracy, he said. Then, NHIA settles 300 million Ghana cedi claims. Let me quickly get into that story. It's on page 20 of the newspaper. Here we go. So the National Health Insurance Authority has disbursed over 300 million Ghana cedis as payment for claims to healthcare facilities across the country. The amount predominantly covers the payment of claims submitted by providers under the National Health Insurance Scheme and vetted for higher tier facilities up to January 2024. The acting chief executive officer of the NHIA, Dr. Dacosta Abuaji, made this known in a statement yesterday. He said for lower tier facilities, the payments were within the acceptable 3-month debt period, which is what he actually said to me when he was here on this very show. Government secures pact to suspend bilateral loan payment until 2026. It's about the latest tranche and the agreements in there. And on the back page, Ghana EU Commission road projects in Upper West region and modern biomedical waste incinerator installed for Noguchi. That's a good thing. Sometimes I feel places like the Noguchi Institute could do a lot more than it is. But anyway, let's keep hoping for the best. Let me just do some international stories. Senegal starts producing oil. And Senegal's president, I love Senegal and their new leadership. Two very young people doing great things. Senegal's president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has said profits from the sale of oil and gas will be well managed as the West African states started producing oil for the first time. It goes on. And then Malawi announces state funeral for vice president. So sad what happened to him. But let me ask you this, Paul Gray. We started proper oil production in 2010. Would you say oil has served Ghana as well as it could have in terms of, not in terms of having the resource, in terms of how we have managed it? People will speak about the Dutch disease and about so many things. I don't think we've got there, but have we benefited really from oil the way we should have?
Maybe not in the full complement of it. Maybe not in the full complement of it. But you see, we acknowledge the fact that Ghana began oil production over the past 14 years now, and maybe not a full complement of it. But I mean, no doubt in my mind that as Ghanaians get very much interested in having blocks and investing more into oil and gas, we would get a full complement of it in the near future.
Okay. We pray for that. My only concern, some areas where by law we should even be putting some oil revenue, we don't put it and we end up spending it. Nigeria's President Tinubu falls over during ceremony. And Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has slipped and fallen over at an official event to mark 25 years of democracy in the country. The president, 72, fell as he climbed the steps on a vehicle which was supposed to take him around Eagle Square in the capital, Abuja. He had to be helped to get back to his feet. One of his aides described it as a, quote, mild misstep, and said the president had been able to continue with the rest of the program. Me, I'll always say this, and I tell you, I don't practice ageism, but I always say, it's like Mo Ibrahim. I'll never forget, it made me laugh. You can also check it out. He was at this function talking about African leadership. At the time when you would have that Algerian president, what's his name? I'll try and get it. This man was in his 90s or so in a wheelchair and had contested and was going to. This was around the time of, I think, the Jade Revolution, the Arab Spring.
Okay.
And then other presidents. I mean, look at Togo, for example, a place I go to pretty often. From Nyasingbe Yadema to Ford Nyasingbe. Look at the number of decades. Look at Equatorial Guinea. And then look at some of the ages. Like I said, not ageism, but fresh ideas percolating and stuff. Mo Ibrahim at that platform said, Africa keeps voting for some of these very old people, 70, 80, 90. Where are they taking us? To the grave? And everyone was laughing. But there's a solid point in there. What are the age requirements in the United States? We saw Obama, 40 what? What are the age requirements in France? We've seen Emmanuel Macron. We've seen Croatia, New Zealand. Not just women, very young women. I don't know, but I think that is one of our major problems in Ghana. Our leadership, and I'm saying it clearly, is too old.
Well, I think that I mean, even the Constitution says that from 40 you can stand as president in this country. But I think that over the years is the level of trust that we have not been able to give to young people to come into the helm of affairs in terms of leadership, and how sometimes when some young people are given the stairs of affairs of leadership,
that's the disappointing thing. Sometimes some of them mess it up.
They mismanage that. But I can agree with you that it's important that we have a shift, really, within our paradigm thinking in terms of ageism, because it does weigh a toll on you, because if you are old, your brain is not working as it was when you were young. I mean, even with studies and all of that. But I would say that Ghana will soon get there when we are able to reduce the level of ages of people we put in the helm of affairs of leadership. If we bring it down to 60s, very soon, people in their 50s can have an opportunity, and people in their 40s can have.
And hopefully we can have more women as well.
Absolutely.
One thing we are not doing well in this country is having enough women in leadership. Ethiopia,
I think
Tanzania.
President Akufo-Addo has done quite well on that. He's appointed a lot more women in his government, which is true. Very much true.
I don't even want to go there. Look at the number of DCs or MCs. Even recently, with the latest, some were creamed off. The numbers fell it became even worse. Look at our parliament. I mean, I think we need palpable measures because other parliaments have 50%, some even 50% plus, the Ethiopians, the Tanzanians, and the rest. And we keep, offering lip service to women. And it happens everywhere. I mean, I'll be, even in media. Yes, even in media, do we have enough women at the very helm of affairs? But I also see that it must not just be, equality. It must be equity.
Equity, very much so.
And then the quality must also be
quality,
there.
absolutely.
The benchmark will not change simply because
your agenda.
So there are those factors in there. But the Daily Statesman, I'm just reading the headlines and we are gone. Minister calls for heightened awareness in border areas. MPP faithful urged to stop pressurizing Bawumia over a running mate. And Ghana secures landmark agreement with creditor committee. Final bit to you. When are we getting a running mate for Dr. Bawumia?
Very soon.
Very soon. Very soon.
Very soon.
How soon is very soon?
Well, that's why I said
when he went to the Ashanti region, people felt he was going to announce it there.
Yes, I mean, people's thinking often projections of what we want to do. We always have a strategy. That is why I stated that we finished with our first round of 16 regions, which ended in a stronghold. Overwhelming numbers of people who have joined the campaign, including the Honorable Kennedy Japan, who massively loved by the grassroots of the New Patriotic Party. Once we are done, we're almost done with our manifesto, so I'm certain that the manifesto launch would be soon, and then also the announcement of the running mate would come through, and then we start with our one-on-one and door-to-door. But I'm certain that it will not cross beyond the month of June. I'm certain that it will happen very soon within this month.
The final thing I will do is just to acknowledge our very hard-working sports journalist, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. He's with the Joy Sports team. Today as well, he features on page 7 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And, the senior national soccer team, the Black Stars, have won their recent 2 competitive matches. How can these victories be sustained to spark the team's revival? And Eli Kondo, or how we say it here, Eli Kondo, is a football pundit. Muftau Nabila and Theo Sampa of GTV. All of them shared their thoughts. So I'm going to take a photo of this and send it to Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. But speaking of which, do you have any final comments before we go?
No, well,
final thoughts?
I think that the final thoughts are that within the short time, Parliament is going to have the media review. You're aware that we're preparing for a media review, and government is continually working. Various sectors, ministers are working. President Akufo-Addo is fulfilling his promises that he's giving to the Ghanaian people. And we are in an election year, and so I would admonish all candidates from the MPP and from the NDC and other smaller political parties and running mates and flag bearers to be restrained with their comments and also ensure that we have one Ghana, one people to serve, and one people to lead.
All right. Let me just celebrate a few people who are celebrating their birthdays today. Happy birthday to Pastor Joseph Akofo. He is the National Children's Ministry leader of the Apostolic Church of Ghana and resident pastor of TAC Ghana, that is the Apostolic Church Ghana, Osu district. And your National Children's Ministry, they are celebrating you this morning. So happy birthday to you, Pastor Joseph Akofo. There are others. Let me quickly do them. So there's this one that says, happy birthday, Nadu Nate of GHHR Solutions. Nadu Nate of GHHR Solutions. May this special day of yours bring you joy and happiness, and your journey ahead be full of peace, blessings, prosperity, and endless love. And it's from the man I was celebrating a short while ago, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Happy birthday, Nadu Nate of GHHR Solutions. There are a few more. So this one says, happy birthday to the boss lady, Ama Domri Odro Tamaklo, CEO of Food 101 or 101. You're an amazing woman. I love you so much. From husband, Edem, kids, Sena, Aseye, and Sairam, and Zveva. Okay, I've never and the entire Food 101 workers. Okay, so happy birthday to you, Ama Odru Tamaklo. Is there a final one? Okay, it's the same one I have already done. And if you're celebrating your birthday today, we celebrate you as well. My name is Benjamin Akakwa. I've done this together with Paul Grave Boache Dankwa. He is government spokesperson on governance and security. Paul Grave, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Bukum Banku say a man can never be careful unless
he wears white.
You're in your white shirt. You've been careful.
Thank you
this
so
morning.
much.
Before we get into sports, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helped us bring you this segment, and they are offering you, again, one more time, prostate screening if you're a man for free. Fertility screening if you're a woman, also for free. Reach out to them at any of their branches, starting with here in Accra, Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Accra DNIG State, Tema, Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa, and Esiaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, but just the start of sports. Up next, you want to stay for that.
Good morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. We start with a big story in the Ghana Premier League, where the match between Dreams FC and Royal Tamale United has been marred by scandalous acts of impersonation. RTU are alleged to have fielded unregistered players in their 8-1 defeat to Dreams FC. The players had protested to management over unpaid salaries and bonuses and ended up boycotting the match. RTU's Chief Executive Officer, Zakaria Safiano, reportedly recruited players from Division 2 sides for the match. Now, RTU captain Baba Koshibu spoke to Angel Sports.
I can confirm is that none of the registered players undertook that game. As I'm speaking currently, all the registered players that are in the RTU system are in Tamale. Some even went home, they are angry about some issues. But what happened in the room is something unimaginable. But I just want to say that some people have certain perception of the Ghana League, and they think sometimes certain things can be done, and yes, they really executed it. Because with this, it's more or less like interest football. When you are going through inspection, at least if you see Baba Kushibo on the team sheet, you should know this is Baba Kushibo because we've been there in each other. So if somebody comes in front of you and say, I am Baba Kushibo, you should tell him, no, you're not Baba Kushibo. So even this is criminal because it's impersonation. We are somewhere in Tamale and people are in the room having the impression that it's us who are going to honor the game. And that is really pathetic. So what I just want to say is that yes, the match was played, but the actual characters weren't those on the field of play.
Yeah, the issue has sparked widespread outrage and criticism, further tarnishing the league's reputation. In response, the Ghana Football Association has officially charged RTU with misconduct following the allegation of player impersonation. There you go. Royal Tamale United have been charged with a breach of Section 34, Clause 6D of the GFA Disciplinary Code 2019 following their Ghana Premier League game against Dreams FC. It is alleged that the club intentionally deceived the match officials during the said game by using unregistered players to impersonate officially registered players of the club, which constitutes misconduct that brings the name of the game into disrepute. They have until Friday, 14th June 2024 to respond to the charges. As the season's final games approach this weekend, the battle for survival intensifies. Now, 5 clubs, including Hearts of Oak and Great Olympics, must win their matches at the very least to stand a chance of remaining in the league. Harry Asante-Chum is the communications director of the GFA, and he says they will ensure fair officiating on the final day.
As an organizer of the competition, I think that you have to operate as fair as possible. You need to give the teams an equal opportunity to win. The referees who are appointed by the FA are always advised to, use or implement the laws of the game to the latter. We wish all the teams the best of luck. I think some of them have not performed well, and that include Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak. For Hearts of Oak, they have to wait until the final day of the season to decide their fate as regards whether they will be relegated or not. We are only disappointed, in the fact that it's become one too many for a couple of years since they won the title under Samuel Wadu, which is quite worrying. But they know what to do. They know that their destiny is in their own hands. They know that they need to go to the chain and fight for the points. We are looking ahead to a very good end to the league season. There are some tough games coming up this weekend. The relegation contenders are all in a very difficult test. This weekend, Great Olympics, Royal Tamale United, Karela are traveling to Takwa, and then Hearts of Oak are traveling to Bechem United. We can only wish them the best of luck, but I think it hasn't been a good season for them.
Now, away from football, ex-Ghana President John Mahama has donated $10,000 to the Ghana Amputee National Football Team in recognition of their remarkable achievement in winning the Amputee Africa Cup of Nations. The Black Challenge presented their trophy to the former president at his residence after beating Morocco 2-1 in the final held in Cairo.
This country puts a lot of money into sports. And of course, we all like the Black Stars, we like the Black Bombers, we like all our national teams. But if we invested a little in other, parts of our sporting potential, we probably would gain even more than we currently are doing. Because the last time the Black Stars won the African Cup was in 1981. And the other teams have gone ahead to win. The women have won before trophies. You have also won, and other sports have won. So we must not only focus on just the senior national team. I agree that we should continue to fund the senior national team to attain trophies for us, but at the same time we should also invest in teams like yours so that you can continue to make Ghana proud. Before you traveled, there was an effort to meet me to see how I could support in my own little way like I've been doing, but unfortunately I had traveled. But it didn't deter you, you still went, and I hear under quite difficult circumstances, you managed to play your hearts out and you brought the trophy. And so we're very proud of you. And we want to welcome you back warmly and to thank you for what you've done. And even though you didn't see me before you went because I was away, I have a little gift for you. It's a little token, $10,000 to be shared amongst the players. To be shared amongst the players, because I know that you went to some expense, when you traveled out there. And so it's just a little token. And I'll continue to take an interest in what you do. And as you know, this is the political season. And we're gearing up for the elections of December. And I just, as the presidential candidate for the NDC party, I wish to assure you that not if, when I win and become the president, I will not forget the amputee football team. $10,000. Let everybody pass.
Now to some sports development, and in a heartwarming display of dedication and generosity, the 1981 alumni group of Accra Girls Senior High School has transformed the sporting landscape of their alma mater. The group has constructed and unveiled a multi-purpose sports facility to improve the conditions of the students' body. There is more in this report. For years, the students of Accra Girls Senior High School have yearned for a sports facility. Now, thanks to the relentless efforts and generous contributions of the 1981 group of former students, this cherished dream has finally blossomed into reality.
And of the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Amen. We continue to unveil.
The facility is a beacon of hope and ready to embrace various sporting disciplines, including badminton, tennis, volleyball, and more. It symbolizes not just a structure, but a place where aspirations find their wings.
If you look at our field, it's a mini field. And if today we have this edifice as an institution, we are more than grateful. The girls now have the opportunity to turn out all the skills they have, God-given talent that has been given to them in all the discipline. Hence, we are very grateful and we accept it with all our hearts. And we promise to ensure that we maintain it for the future generation to also be beneficiaries. Agosa 1981. Yes, you've gone through a lot. It's been a long journey since 2019, latter part to early 2020. And we thank God for how far He has brought you, and you have really completed your projects.
It was a labor of love that spanned 5 years, with numerous hands joining forces to see it through. The 81 group feels an overwhelming sense of joy following the completion of the project.
So happy, so elated, so blessed, because it's been a long journey. We've gone through so many challenges, and by the grace of God, He's brought us to the end of the project. And now our students can enjoy.
What influenced the decision of the 81 group to come up with this project?
Every year the school publishes a list of needs for the school to all the year groups, and there's a special platform, the REPS platform, and we share it to the various year groups. So we decided to pick the multi-purpose courts project because it looks like there was nothing here, suitable for the students, the girls to play their sports activities, have their sports activities. So we decided to pick this and put our heads together and contributed. We did some appeal for funds, and today we are here. We thank God.
For the students, stepping onto this ground for the first time can be likened to breathing new life into their athletic pursuits. It's a tangible reminder that the days of struggling are now a thing of the past.
Sometimes we have to alternate on the courts that we have. So volleyball will alternate with handball, and then basketball with netball. And we have limited time. So when this team is training, they have to stop for another team to also come and then train. But with this one, we know that at least we'll add this one to what we already have, and then it will improve our performance and then the training time. Then also, since this one is cemented, sometimes we train on the ground and we go and face the cemented floor, and it's a challenge because seeing the courts even it will deter the students. It puts some kind of fear in them. But now that we also have this, I think we'll train and they'll be used to it, so that fear will be off.
I'm very excited to have this as an asset to enhancing our sporting activities in the school. With this, we are able to showcase our talents concerning sports, and I'm sure the students are very happy to see this and to encourage them to engage in more sporting activities in the school.
I'm Ajoka Chimakafi. I'm a basketball player.
What do you make of this project?
Actually, I feel it's really helpful because we used to play on the sun and getting wounds is quite easy there. But here, since it's smoother, you can move and bounce much better. Actually, yeah, because when we go there, they are more advanced in dribbling. Because here we use the sun, we normally don't dribble. So since this is cement, you can dribble much better.
So there are 5 groups of people to each side.
Makafu with the ball, shoot. And he missed it.
That is it.
And shoot.
And it's a goal.
This new multi-purpose facility marks a significant milestone for the senior high school. It stands as a testament to the enduring bond between former students and their alma mater, and it promises to enrich the lives of current and future students for many years to come. Agoza. Haruna Mubarak for Joy Sports.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now let's talk a little bit about these locked up medical supplies at our ports, which has been there for over 2 years. Now, minorities giving government 24 hours to clear up all Global Fund locked up consignments from the port or face their wrath as they demand an explanation to how an 80 million cedis allocation for counterpart funding was used. Let's delve into the issues. And joining me this morning is the Member of Parliament for Joaboso constituency and ranking member on the Health Committee in Parliament, Kwabena Minta Akando. Honorable, thank you for joining us this morning. Now, you've given the government 24-hour ultimatum, but I want you to situate the issue for me. What are your concerns this morning?
So thank you very much for having me. As we stated in our press engagement yesterday, this issue, apart from the fact that government is deliberately preventing the citizens of this country from having quality health care, it has become an international embarrassment to Ghana. Recently, I was part of the delegation to WHO, the World Health Assembly, and this issue came up in about 3 side meetings. And in all the meetings, it was a huge embarrassment to Ghana. And it's quite unconscionable. Anybody who attempts to justify this particular issue, for me, I would be extremely shocked. So as you rightly stated in your introduction, these supplies came as far back in May last year. And you see, these are grants, these are medications that have been donated by some other jurisdictions, taxpayers' money. And it is given to Ghana free of charge. So why should that leave the country of origin, arrive at your end, and then you say that you cannot clear the containers for the benefit of the people in the country? It doesn't make sense anywhere. And let me tell you, both in the history of Ghana and in the history of Global Fund, this has never happened before. Ghana is not the only country Global Fund is dealing with. It has never happened in the history of Global Fund before. It's a huge embarrassment. Huge embarrassment. Okay? Anytime a consignment takes off from its country of origin, they notify all the agencies involved in the mother ministry, including the Ministry of Health. And so they will send you the invoices, they will send you the bill of lading and anything. My sister, there are 2 approaches to this issue. Whether you decide to waive all taxes and duties, and that kicks in immediately you receive the bill of lading. And so when you start the processes, before the consignment arrives at your end, you just go ahead and clear. And that will not take any time. Or you make a clear law exempting all these medications from duties and taxes. And so that when, in the first instance, what I suggested, the Ministry of Finance can even go ahead and waive the taxes and then bring these documents to Parliament for ratification. Or you can still go ahead and then bring these laws for exemptions so that you don't need to come to Parliament for any waiver. And I don't see why this is so difficult to do, so such that we have to leave this consignment for over a year at the port. Of course, you know that these medications have their lifespan, and so some of them are even expiring. Quite apart from that, anytime Global Fund is giving us a grant, for example, the 6th cycle ended in December 2023, and that we benefited not less than $233 million from that cycle. Now, another cycle has started, which starts from January 2024 to January 2026. And in that grant, we are going to benefit not less than $248 million and additional $100 million. These are grants. In the grant, Ghana is expected to pay a counterpart funding. And let me throw light on this counterpart funding. In this case, it is not money that Ghana must pay to Global Fund before they give us the grant. But what it is expected of Ghana is that we calculate the 15%, then we buy items, medications worth the 15%, and then we show evidence of the procurement to Global Fund, and that will suffice as our contribution of the 15%. We don't need to give the money to Global Fund. We have to go and buy the medication ourselves for our own use.
And that hasn't happened yet? Is that what you're saying?
Hello?
Are you saying that hasn't happened yet?
That is the bone of contention. And we have faulted for about $33 million, defaulted for about $33 million. And quite apart from all the facts I have given you, anytime Global Fund is bringing any consignment, they also add some amount, about 1% of the grant, to the consignment for clearing the goods.
Okay.
That is
now,
what they have been doing in all countries.
My concern now, when we talk about government, you are also part of government. You are a minority and you are ranking member on the health committee. Why do you think it has taken us so long? And you're now issuing a 24-hour ultimatum to the government to do something about it. Why has it taken us so long?
In government, we have 3 arms of government. And everybody, and I know you should know better, everybody and its responsibility.
Yes.
We belong to the legislature. And you know we are not the holders of the public purse. You know the responsibility of the executive. I don't sit at the Ministry of Health, but the Ministry of Health day-to-day.
No, I'm not saying that it's your responsibility. You're doing something right. You're escalating. You are giving the government 24-hour ultimatum to do something, which is good. My question to you is why it has taken us this long for you to do this now?
Please. If you have indeed followed this conversation, this is not the first time we are speaking to this matter. And I've told you already that this conversation started last year.
Right.
I, personally, have issued not less than 3 press conferences. I've issued a statement on the floor of the House. And I have also told you that I was part of the delegation to Geneva WHA. And this is about the 5th or 6th time we are having to talk about the issue. So it's not as though we've gone to sleep. And this is the first time we have woken up to come and speak about the matter. So that picture will be a wrong one to paint.
That's all right. Now
and so we have never slept on this issue, and we will never sleep until all the containers are cleared from the port. And the point I was making before you interrupted was that anytime Global Fund is bringing any consignment, they add additional money for the clearing of those goods from our port in every country. And that is estimated as 1% of our grant. Now, when they added the money, then Ghana got back to them and told them that, look, you know what? We have increased our port charges, so that 1% is not enough. Can you imagine? Who does this? Who does this? So it's unconscionable. Nobody can justify it. The level of the irresponsibility of the executive is unprecedented. And I think that with immediate effect, the executive, the minister responsible, the president, the vice president, this is what is important. This is what is important. And when we fight, and at the end of the day, all the containers are cleared from the port, that is where he will find his voice and also come and speak about it. But we have been speaking about this matter for the past 1 year, and the vice president has not found his voice yet on this matter. But let's today, Let's all pray that today all the containers are cleared from the port. That is where you find his voice. Please, it's a serious matter.
Right.
It's about the lives of the people in this country. And I think that the executive, as a matter of emergency with immediate effect, must clear. And you see, you know where we have gotten to?
Right.
As part of the engagement yesterday, what we realized was that now what they are saying is that they have succeeded in whether waiving or paying the duties and taxes, but because these consignments have been at the port for a very long time, demurrages have set in. So now they owe demurrages of about 7 million Ghana cedis, and that is what they are battling with now. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Make sense.
You say if after 24 hours they don't do something about it, they're going to face your wrath. What does this look like? What are you going to do about it?
It looks like any other thing that we do until these containers are cleared from the port.
Like
and
what?
Issues of health. When we pick one issue, not until we get results, we don't relax. And we will not relax. We will continue to pursue this matter until these containers are cleared from the port. That's what we mean. But
what I really want to understand what some of these actions will be. I mean, aside giving them an ultimatum.
Available to us, what do you call it? Tools available to us as members of parliament include holding the minister to the floor of the house, making statements, demonstrations, what have you. So after the 24 hours, we are monitoring events. We hope that the government will listen and do the needful and then respond positively to clear all these containers from the port. That is what is important. What is important is that we need these medications. What is important is that we must have value for money. That is what is important. As for our actions, if they clear the goods from the port, there will not be any need for. But our concentration as Ghanaians, as media people, must go to making sure that these containers are cleared, so that, the Ghana Medical Association have come up. They have come out to say that in very short time, we are going to run out of medications for tuberculosis. I hope you have read that. And so these are the main issues. And these are the issues we must all concentrate on and put in pressure. Me, I'm a member of parliament from the opposition. I'm the ranking member on the health committee. The best. And what is expected of me is, under such circumstances, to bring pressure to bear on government to make sure that the right things are done. That is what is expected of me. Because I am not the holder of the public purse. And there are some activities that I am not directly responsible, or we, the members of parliament in the minority or on the health committee, are not directly responsible. But what is expected of us is what we are doing. And we believe that if indeed our president is a Democrat, if indeed our president cares about the health of the people in this country, if indeed we live in a democratic era, when stakeholders in democracy, in governance, are speaking, and what they are saying makes a lot of noise, a lot of sense, it means that you must respond positively for the benefit of the citizens in the country.
All right. Now, Mr. Kano, while I still have you here, let's talk about the cost of dialysis treatment. Now, government is saying they will absorb the cost of dialysis treatment for 18 years and below. Is that enough? How does it sit with you?
I think we've had conversation on this matter on several occasions. I've made my point clear, and I still stand by those points. Have stated that number one, they are saying that they're going to absorb the cost of dialysis for people under 18 years and above 16 years. If you look at the population by the Ghana Renal report, you realize that the numbers are not there. Below 18 and above 16, they constitute within 20%. So the challenge is the 80%. How are we going to help the 80%? Number one. Number two, I have also stated that this is an ad hoc measure. Ad hoc measure in the sense that with all what they are saying, it will last for only 6 months because we're in an election year. So after the 6 months, what next? We need a sustainable manner or way of financing the dialysis in this country. Now, the third point is that we cannot overburden the national health insurance scheme. We cannot overburden it because even malaria, the National Health Insurance is finding it difficult to pay claims for malaria. So you cannot continue to overburden the National Health Insurance scheme on other illness, else we will collapse the scheme. So government must think outside the box and roll out a sustainable financial mechanism for the dialysis. Now, the next point is that we must also be talking about access to even dialysis machines. Access to dialysis machines. About 1 month ago, out of the 8 dialysis machines we had in Confanoche about 8 years ago, they were left with only about 2. So access to dialysis machines, you even go to some countries nationwide, some regions in the nation, some regions in the country, especially Western North. You go and you cannot find a single dialysis machine in the whole region. How are we going to have dialysis machines in our district hospitals, in our regional hospitals? It was another conversation. Because even if government decides to absorb the whole cost and you cannot have access to the machine, it's also matter ado about nothing. And so as for the issue of dialysis, I don't think, and you see quite recently, government proposed an increment in the cost of dialysis. That one too, we have stated on the floor of the House that was done in error, and that the minister responsible for health must come back and amend that act so that we will reduce the cost of dialysis for the citizens in this country, and even go ahead and absorb the rest so that at least those patients can also have some kind of relief.
Okay, but like you rightly said, we cannot overburden the National Health Insurance Scheme, and this is an issue of finances. So if this absorbing the cost for only 18 years and below is not enough, what should governments have done? You said they should have thought outside the box, or they should think outside the box. What should they have done? There
are a lot of things they are wasting money on. They spent millions of Ghana cedis on the cathedral. Waste of money. Waste. I mean, it doesn't make sense. This money could have been pumped into the cost of dialysis. Number 2, since this government took office, they have capped the National Health Insurance Scheme or National Health Insurance Fund. If I say capping, what they have done is that after the collection of the money that you and I pay, and you know how we pay the National Health Insurance levy, after your show, if you decide to go and have breakfast, if you decide to go and have lunch, you pay National Health Insurance levy 2.5. And so these monies are collected in advance payment, forward payment. Is the most reliable money anybody can get in the system. And so these monies are supposed, it's a special purpose vehicle. We're supposed to invest the 100% of that money into the National Health Insurance Fund. What this government has done is that after collection, then they will decide to take whatever they want and then give the rest to the fund. And even with that, they are always in arrears. So from 2018 till date, Ghana government, the Nana Danko Akufo-Addo Bawumia government, has capped the National Health Insurance in excess of 6 billion. This 6 billion, you ask yourself, if we have pumped into the cost of dialysis, it would have helped everybody. So there are a lot of wastage in the system that I believe that if indeed we are thinking outside the box, we will find money to do it. We will find money to do it. It's a matter of priority. It's just because it is not the priority of government. Simple. Anything government thinks that is their priority, such as the cathedral, government will find money to do it.
So do you maintain that the NHIA is broke and cannot be sustained? Are they broke?
Oh, we had this conversation last week, and last 2 weeks, press release upon press release, we have had this conversation. The current position is that now, without going back, government is owing the National Health Insurance Authority from July 2003 to date. So the mathematics is that if you take July 2023 to February 2024, the amount government owes the National Health Insurance is about 2.4 billion, excluding March to May. And the whole of 2024, their budget is around 6.8 billion. And so this is how much government is owing the National Health Insurance Authority.
But Dr. Da Costa Waji is saying that they are okay. They are still standing strong. So how do you react to that?
His strong doesn't look strong. So I guess I will have to leave it as one of those issues because, of course, it's a political appointee. You don't expect him to come out and lambast government. But as I speak to you, I'm only giving you the figures. We sit on the committee to approve the formula, and we know what exactly is happening in the National Health Insurance. It is quite recently after our press conference that we had to engage the stakeholders to find money for them. And you can ask Dacosta himself, he was part of the meeting, to think through how we are going to look for money for them. So we invited the Minister of Finance, we invited the Controller, we invited National Health Insurance, we invited the Ministry, and we had a meeting to get a plan so that we will all follow a roadmap, so that we will all follow, so that the National Health Insurance Authority will continue to have money for the sustenance of the scheme, because it is quite embarrassing and disheartening that holders of the National Health Insurance card will go to health facilities and they will turn them away. And sometimes some of them will have to pay money, what we call the co-payment. So these are the realities happening on the ground. And so the fund has been in arrears for some time now, and it has always been in arrears. And so I think that government needs to set its priorities right, because this is money that should be very reliable. It's not as though, government, we don't have money, so government should go and look for money for the National Health Insurance Scheme. No. It is something that has been created and the people of Ghana are contributing to. So the law says that if you take the National Health Insurance Act, Section 52, Section 52.1 and 52.2, it's clear that when they collect these levies, within 30 days, this money must be lodged directly into the fund for the good use of the authority.
Right.
You understand? So I think that, and see, let's be very careful. Pushing everything onto the fund, the fund will collapse. So we should be able to think outside the box. You know?
Right.
And then we have to decap the fund. It's very important. Let's decap the fund. It doesn't speak well of us.
Lastly, before I let you go, Mr. Kando, any updates on Agenda 111 after your checks? Any new information come to light? Yes, but we have you here, so please indulge. Any updates?
I'm listening.
Based on the checks that you've done, any new information come to light on the Agenda 111 project?
Well, I believe that after this Agenda discussion, you will also.
This is my final question.
To other radio stations and then TV stations, because a lot of them are also trying to reach me for this same conversation of the Global Fund, commodities and medication. Now, on the matter of the National Health Agenda 111,
right?
I have always stated that there was not going to be any 111 hospitals in this country, and that it was too ambitious. And later, the president himself came to vindicate me, because he said he was going to hand over 111 hospitals to the people of this country before he hands over in 2025, January. But the documents available to us as committee members indicate that the financing of this project or program will even go beyond 2027, which of course, Baumia and Donado will not be the president of this country. So it is not feasible that they are going to build 111 hospitals. What they are going to do and what they were seeking to do was to start something at various sites. And then when it gets to the campaign season, they will say, we are doing this, we are doing that, so vote for us. So when we come to power, we'll come and continue. But as I speak to you now, all the timelines they have given, including the president, they have failed woefully. Not a single one of them have been completed and put to good use. Not a single one of them. In fact, to tell you the truth, this is the first government in the history of Ghana which for the past 8 years or 7 to 8 years, they have not started, continued, completed, commissioned, and put to good use one single hospital for the entire 7 to 8 years. Not a single one. Not a single one. They are full of deception. You know, so for example, the Lagina Hospital.
Right.
They made all the noise before 2020 election. When the former minister appeared before the Betting Committee after 2020, that's around 2021, You said the project was near completion, when of course it has even not started. Now, because we are going into another election, they've got to keep another contractor there. The contractor should be on site so that the people will know that they are doing something and they will vote for them. So this government is full of deception. That's what they do best. They deceive the good people of this country, and then they go scot-free. And so, as for the Agenda 111, as far as I'm concerned, the figures available to me and the budget they presented as the last time they appeared before us, they don't have the money to construct 111 hospitals for the good people of this country.
All right.
The stipulated time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who am I talking to?
Sweetie Abochi, co-host on the AM show. Member of Parliament for Jabusu constituency and ranking member on Health Committee of Parliament, Kwabena Mintah Kando. Thank you for spending part of your morning with us. Right, so that's that for this belt of conversations, but there's still more coming your way. We have AM Exclusive and AM Business coming up next on the AM show. We'll be right back.
The Esutifin South District, which shares a boundary with Ahafano North districts in the Ashanti region, is an agrarian and mining enclave. Children are exploited in the booming illegal mining operations as well as farming activities. This has been the practice for the last 15 years as authorities struggle to bring the situation under control, though the local assembly has rolled out education initiatives. District Chief Executive Robert Jumo has bemoaned the involvement of children in the illegal mining at the expense of their education.
Tifi South District being agrarian district, that means we do a lot of farming, and unfortunately for us, for the past 15 years, we've also been mining. So there are mining communities, and generally where you find these two occupations, child labor is bound to happen. We've been fighting against it. We've been educating them. For last year, for instance, we were in Romso, where they have small scale and other mining activities over there. And we spoke extensively on them, and this is another program that we have organized. When you go to the site, you see children picking stones, that is mining materials for processing. Others also carry the stones for a token to the processing centers. And apart from that, there are some of them who have graduated. I told you the mining activity started over 15 years ago. So there are some of them who started as children, but now it seems they've been graduated to adulthood, and you see those people operating there.
Mr. Jumo was speaking at the International Day Against Child Labor event organized by NGO Nature Aid Ghana at Konkontreso, one of the endemic communities. He's encouraging parents to take advantage of government's free SHS program to improve the lives of their wards. He told journalists that the Assembly is drafting anti-child labor bylaw.
Since Assembly used to go there regularly to check all these things, now you don't see the children as we used to see. So we can say that it is minimized at the moment. So with the passage of the bylaw against child labor, I believe the Assembly itself can arrest people and prosecute them for that offenses. The lawyers are preparing it. I think we started last year. We haven't come out with the final draft. When the final draft comes, I think I will be able to speak to it. So with the committees in place, I think they will be able to fish out those parents who are using their children for the work which is highly bigger than their capacity. They will be able to fish them out, and we deal with them.
Konkontreso is one of the child labor endemic communities. At least 4 out of every 10 children on the streets are victims of one form of child labor. The not-for-profit organization Nature Aid Ghana has been busy supporting the efforts of the local assembly to help change the narrative. Officials, through the formation of community child support committees, are working with parents, educational institutions, traditional authorities to change the situation. Joseph Barado is the Executive Director of Nature Aid Ghana.
This area in particular, when you pick about 10 children, you get at least not less than 3 or 4 involved in child labor. Our scope of work, we actually helping the community develop community action plans, trying to, diagnose their own problems, and then prefer solutions to these problems, and then so that we also facilitate the process for them to develop bylaws and other strategic activities.
Parents are now more aware of the adverse impact of child labor in the area. From Ahafo region for Joy News, Ohime Interior reporting.
Welcome back on the AM show. It's a Thursday morning and we serve you, as always, AM exclusive. Today, we're engaging a diplomat and governance expert with international repute. He's a man of many hats and of many things. Dr. Nii Ishmael Dodoo. He's a former UN official for the Sahel, and I'm going to be having a conversation with him on what he's been up to and how we can better the fortunes of our country, Ghana. Dr. Dodoo, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
I believe, I don't know, I think I may have spoken to you once in the past.
Yes.
But not physically in the studio.
Yes.
So this is the first encounter we are having
Indeed.
in the studio.
Yeah.
But tell me, I just want you to let those who may not know you get to know you better. Who is Dr. Nii Dodoo? I don't want to say what is your background, but yes, what is your background? And what have you been up to? Just put those together.
Right.
Who are you?
Right. Thank you very much. So I grew up in, the Dodoo constituency, a very famous place that most people know, near the Palladium Cinema, Amamomo, those environs. So I'm a really, really, you would say that I'm a Ghanaian man. I call myself a son of a Dodoo because I really grew up in those particular areas. And I went to Accra Academy, so I'm a blow guy.
Oh, okay.
Right, and then from Accra Academy I went to Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where I studied natural resources management, and I focused on policy and governance aspects of those. From that, I got a scholarship, a full scholarship. One scholarship meant for an African to study in Oxford University.
Okay. And
I made it to, and where I studied, I have my graduate degree in Oxford University and also a fellow of Linacre College from Oxford University. Then from then I've done a lot of work. Most of my career had been with the United Nations. Spent close.
When you say most of your career, how long is that?
Close to 2
I know
decades.
you've done 25 years in some of these areas,
right? More than 16 years with the United Nations, and I've served in over. I work with more than 36 countries in Africa. I probably think that it's about 53 countries globally in terms of work experience in the human development aspect. And then I had the privilege to serve at the highest office, or the executive office of Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, and I served him quite well. And then Secretary General Guterres appointed a special advisor for the Sahel, of which I was made the Chief of Staff to help really develop the UN integrated strategy for the Sahel. And I coordinated the implementation of that for more than 5 years. And so overall, my life had been more focusing on how to deal with the issues of poverty, issues of crisis, then issues of really abject poverty that really engulfs societies and communities. And I've had the privilege to work with several heads of states, governments of West Africa particularly. And I've had opportunity to really provide a strategic thinking, for how to deal with some of those issues. I'm quite proud of the work that we did in the Sahel region, particularly at a time when there's a lot of extremist attacks in the various countries in the Sahel, about 10 of them, 10 countries in the Sahel. And we came up with a blueprint to really deal with the issues of the crisis. We created about 10,000 jobs within an enclave that is very difficult for people to.
Where specifically?
We call it the Liptako-Goma region, which is the cross-border region between Mali, Niger, and Burkina. And this is about...
it's sort of a no man's land.
Yes, it's a no man's land. And I work very closely with some of these Tuaregs, where I did a cross-border trade program with them. They were very surprised to see somebody like me travel all the way to close a border in the sub-Saharan, in the Sahara Desert area to talk to these people. Very interesting people. In fact, the work with the UN gave an opportunity to see the anthropological side of human development, because very often when you talk about development, we focus on the economics, but there's not much of the social aspect. I'm an environmental expert, so the environmental side of things is also very useful. But then the anthropology, trying to understand people, is very helpful in developing solutions to address their issues. Yeah. So I said to myself that if I'm able to crack a blueprint strategy for African solutions for African poverty, then I believe that my work in life will be done.
So it appears to be an interesting, stint that you've had with the United Nations, and outside of that, yes, your own work that you've been doing. Yeah. It also reminds me, when you spoke about poverty, a program I took online from MIT way back, The Challenges of Global Poverty.
Right.
And this is a long time ago, exposed me to quite a bit when it comes to the poverty terrain, especially on the continent of Africa. But having spoken about these, now that you're outside of the UN system, you consult for the UN, but you're outside of the UN system. What have you been up to on a personal level? I know you are very interested in youth development, yes, especially in the Gadangme areas as well. Just tell us a little bit about that before we segue, because look, I used to work in the Pram area, and I know that when it comes to education and certain amenities in some of those areas, yes, MPs, DCs, and others will try their best, but there are major problems. What do you see?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a very good question, which really touches me a lot. Growing up, let me start from this. Growing up in the Ododo constituency, particularly in the areas that I spoke to you about, I went to a public school which is close to Bukum. Today, when you look at the Gadangbe community from, let me say, Choko area all the way to Pram, Ningo, and so on the coastal stretch, it's a place, the Ghanaian community are probably those communities that I arguably have one of the highest rates of poverty. Most of their schools that they have, most of the schools are in a very dilapidated conditions. The youthful population there, we're talking about 2.5 to 2.6 million people, a very significant number. And 80% of them are between the ages of 13 to, let's say, 25 years. And most of them are not going to school. It's a very, very challenging situation they are faced with. The health centers are all not in good shape. See the La Polyclinic, for example, which has been broken down. They not, developed it anymore. We have the Salaga market. So there are a lot of challenges that the Ghanaian community are facing. Now, what I took to myself to do is to give back to my community. I work with quite a few Ghanaian people in the diaspora to set up what is called the Ghanaian Alliance for Change. It's a social movement to raise the consciousness of the challenges that the Ghanaian people are facing. And the challenge they are facing is really urban poverty. It's not a rural poverty situation. I mean, with urban poverty, you see so many riches around you, so many opportunities, but you can't access them. One, because you don't have the technical capacity to do so. You don't have the skills, you know, and you are just pushed to just the occupation that you know of, which most of them are, is the fisheries. Even the fisheries sector is not booming. So, you know, they have nothing to do. And the education, they don't have good access to quality education, access to healthcare. All these things are very, very challenging. So the Alliance for Change is to raise the consciousness of these challenges and to actually leverage politics today to say, look, we're going to do a block vote to any political party that would guarantee our interests. And these are the interests: to fix our schools, fix our community clinics, make sure that the women can have access to those health centers, fix the polyclinics, fix our market for the women, but create what we call the Ghanaian Development Agency or Authority, which we then do a development planning for the Ghana state. And they will leverage this plan in terms of resources through property taxes that they are supposed to have, through you know, some of the royalties that they're supposed to have, and also a proper valuation of the land asset that the Ghanaian people have, and get people to pay back what they have to pay.
So interesting bits there. I just want to find out from you, though. Do you feel, I mean, in your experience, growing up and where you find yourself now, do you feel the Gadangme community has been deprived in a way, that Gadangmes have been treated unfairly, put on the fringes of development over time?
I feel very strongly about that. You know, my late father was a footballer. He played for, he's actually a founding member of the Black Stars. His name is Ishmael Nii Dodoo. And he used to tell me stories about independence, you know, what some of the decisions that stalwarts for the Ghana community made to enable the Republic of Ghana to be formed, in terms of deciding to welcome Kwame Nkrumah, giving an opportunity to be the MP of Odudu constituency, in spite of the fact that it's not from there, and give the land asset for you know, universities, formation of public offices, you know, all these administrations that we have, and the decision they made for that is just for the purposes of forming the Republic of Ghana, which they are very proud of. But they thought that by doing so, Ghanaian people will be given opportunity to actually benefit from the essence of having a capital in Ghana, in Accra. But today, look at some of the very valuable land assets that government, you know, have taken, and they were supposed to be used for certain intended purposes, which they don't use it anymore for that. So one would expect that the land will be reverted back to the allodial owners of the land for them to decide what to do with it. And then
we have had such calls.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of challenge. So we feel shortchanged in this republic. We believe that
Gadangmes
feel shortchanged in this republic. If you look at the wealth of Greater Accra, the World Bank indicator by 2030, the Greater Accra wealth in terms of GDP will be about $35 billion. Now, how much of that, of goods and services, is benefiting the Ghanaian community? When you look at the richest men in Greater Accra, how many of them are Ghanaian? Look at the wealthy areas, the cantonments, Labone, and so on. How many Ghanaian people are there? And then you have all these youthful individuals, close to 2 million of them. All they see is poverty all around them, and they feel like their settlement is just pushed to the coastal areas, and this is their land, and then they are seeing all these challenges around. So I think we have to change the narrative. Ghana cannot achieve or make an acceleration towards sustainable development goals with this type of inequality.
Right.
So there must be some deliberate attempt to do that. which is why the Ghanaian Alliance for Change is very important, because what we are saying is that in order to lift people out of poverty, you have to have a deliberate policy and strategy and action for it. And that will mean that you need to have a purposeful focus on them. So that will translate into having some kind of Ghanaian Development Authority that will look at all the challenges that they are faced with and really plow back the money through some kind of trust fund. And with this, and to be honest, if this happens for the Ghanaian community, it will provide a blueprint for how Ghana can develop.
I see. Interesting points you make again, but let me just ask you, you spend quite a bit of time outside of the country.
Yeah.
You spend some time in the country. When you look at Ghana today, and I want you to be a bit brief on that, what picture do you see? You've spoken about the youth. I'll get to the SDGs and other matters later, but unemployment issues, governance issues, the economy, health. What picture do you see? The positives and the negatives. What do you see when you come back to Ghana? What picture, what impression do you get? And where are the areas you feel we could do a lot more to make this country better, safer, more economically viable, especially for young people?
Right. When you look at Ghana today, a perception from outside, and I'm talking about the perception that a lot of our partners, I would say, in development look at. They see a glorious country which is sliding down a bit. Because the expectations of Ghana today is that Ghana should have been a country that will probably be equal to the kind of development you like to see that we are seeing in Hong Kong, in South Korea, in Singapore. So Ghana is not measured against its counterparts in African countries. It's always measured against these international realms, simply because of the way Ghana has socialized itself internationally. When you talk about Ghana, you talk about a country that is very strong in democracy, very strong in governance, where people feel that the rule of law actually should prevail here. And so it was very shocking when Transparency International and others revealed that our judges and court system is actually corrupt and is one of the corrupt sectors. So you see all these holes that are punched into a glorious Ghana that we need to fix. So we need to fix our international image. We also need to fix the aspect of our international image that deals with how we are managing our economy and how the economic sectors are actually growing. If you look at industrialization, for example, Ghana is not doing well at all. So we sort of dropped from all the factories that Kwame Nkrumah built, which was helping us to engage in the global economy. We dropped from all of that to
a tomato factory.
Yeah. Now we're importing
the glass factory, the jute factory,
the shoe factory, and all that.
Shoe factory, and even meat processing.
Meat processing, yeah. So and all these factories then would help you to engage the global economy in a very positive way, and because without international trade, countries, you cannot grow your economy. And now
we see the effects of that, because if you look at inflationary trends and then the very things we're importing into our country, it tells you that if we had got things right then, wouldn't be where we are currently.
Yeah. So a lot of people, when they discover the current state of affairs in the country, are very shocked. And the question I get most of them always calling me to ask is, what is happening? What is happening to your country? And then it's a very difficult situation. And for those of us who live abroad, we constantly have to answer some of these questions. I think that what Ghana needs to fix is really focusing on the agricultural sector. And when I say agricultural sector, I'm talking about value chain agriculture, and making sure that you bring in from the production all the way to marketing and trade. that we set up sectors that, industrialized sectors that we can take advantage of. And we have to link that to what I think we need to do now is what I call the human capital strategy. Ben, where the world is going today, we require that every country that wants to engage, where the trajectory of growth of the world, need to do so by having a very strong human capital strategy. What do I mean by that? You need to be able to have a population that have the requisite skills, talents, that will be able to attract foreign direct investment into your country and will be able to engage the world. We're talking about mobile and technology, digital economy at the moment. We need to make sure that our educational system is able to deliver the talents and the skills of humans, of our population, such that if anybody wants to make a foreign direct investment decision in any country in the world to West Africa, then they will think about Ghana. Ghana can position itself to become the Wall Street of the world, of West Africa. Ghana can position itself to leverage the $1.3 trillion economy, trade economy that the West Africa is going to have. Ghana can position itself to be the hub where maybe mobile phones are manufactured because if you look at mobile technology growth in West Africa, is probably the fastest across Africa. So Ghana can position itself to be the hub that would push these things through.
I mean, we have the Africa Free Trade Area, and there are many benefits we can get there.
Exactly.
But with all of these things that you've mentioned, I mean, you mentioned agriculture. I am thinking mechanized agriculture, and of course, creating that value chain. But my question then to you, because you started talking about Ghana's image on the international front, have we slidden? Has there been a retrogression in terms of Ghana's image on the back of some of these things you speak of?
You talk to businesses and they tell you, I consult for some of, some private sector and some governments and try to facilitate investment into those countries. You talk to businesses and they say, look, it's so difficult to do anything in the country that when you're a businessman and you have a challenge with your clients and you go to the court, you can't guarantee that you're actually going to get a fair deal in court. So a country where we have issues of rule of law, the issues of corruption is always on the back, it's always staring at you. And then you have our banks having challenges, even to issue standby letter of credit, it takes time and all this. I think that
all of those impede the business.
I think that Ghana has really slidden. And if you look at our inflation rates, and then
inflation has fallen a bit. I mean, from 25 point something, it's
but it's still very, very, very high now. How much? Look at it. No businessman can actually go to, well, maybe I'm exaggerating, but you go to a bank and you want to take a loan to invest in your business, you are not very sure. Now you have a debt ratio to GDP is 93.5%. So which means that if Ghana is a company and he earns 10,000 Ghana cedis, you spend 9,350 to pay debt, and then you are left with 650 Ghana cedis to fix your...
Not to pay debt, to pay the interest.
The interest on the debt.
Not the debt.
Not the debt, but the interest on the debt. And then you are left with 650 Ghana. So you earn 10,000 Ghana cedis, you only left with 650 to fix your education, to pay your rent, to take your children to school. This is impossible. So the image of the country is really, really is a bad shape. Now, our role in international communities, for example, look at the numbers of Ghanaians in the UN system today. It keeps dropping all the time. I'm talking about, seniority position.
I mean, there were good days with Busumuru Kofi Annan. I mean, currently you would see the likes of Ben Duchimalo,
right,
among others in there, but the numbers are the paucity of...
They've gone down a lot. We used to have a lot of Ghanaians in the Assistant Secretary General level or under Secretary General level or Director level. And then, you know, so
what do you think is accounting for that?
I think the first thing is, as a country, we have not decided that we want to have a deliberate policy for, one, strengthening the image of our country internationally, two, really dealing with the issues of corruption, and three, strengthening our rule of law, and four, a deliberate policy to really leverage the sheer wealth of that is within West Africa as one of the stalwarts of Pan-Africanism. And if we've done these four factors, I think that Ghana will be doing very well. If you take, for example, just positioning to grow our strength within the international diplomacy, then as a country, we'll make sure that we put forward very strong candidates, and there are a lot of them, into maybe, you know, a vice president for Africa, the World Bank, for example, or African Development Bank president. We'll put candidates forward for Under Secretary General in the United Nations, you know, candidate forward for World Trade Organization, things like that. These are very, very important if you compare.
I mean, it's not a total loss. Recently, for example, we do know that our Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Ayoko Botche,
yes,
has made some inroads in terms of the Commonwealth,
yes,
and a position that she was eyeing on the African continent, a few here and there. But I do agree with you that the numbers are not what they used to be.
No.
And I also believe, I do not know what you think, I also believe that it's a lack of wanting to learn other languages as well, to also increase our abilities. For example, our Francophone brothers and sisters, a lot of them would pass through countries like Ghana, get the linguistic background.
Right.
So if they put you on the same level and you have similar qualifications, they have a language over you or two. And I believe that's also something that
the language factor is very important. I mean, I had to learn French when I went to the Sahel region, but it was a baptism of fire. I have to because everything else is French. So I'm thankfully, as an adult, I learned the French, and being able to do so just gave me the impression that the confirmation in my spirit that, look, anybody else can learn a second language. And I think we should make sure that's part of our human capital strategy too. Make sure that we learn the French, because we are surrounded by French. You know, the president looks good whenever he's in a francophone country and he speaks French. And since I speak French and I write, and whenever I meet francophones, they feel very comfortable to engage in business. So that's very true. But there are a lot of Ghanaians who are speaking French and Chinese. One thing that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah did for us, which was very, very useful, is to have relationship with Togo, the university in Togo, and Sheikh Anta Diop in Senegal, so that our students who want to learn French could go there to do so free. So the second year I think the second year in the University of Legon and Tech, they choose between these two countries to go there and polish their French and come back. And most of them are actually doing well. The challenge is that most of them are overseas. I know quite a number of them, and overseas, some of them are also taking other nationalities, so they are not Ghanaians in essence. But we need to do that.
So on international diplomacy, since you've mentioned it, in terms of our foreign policy, what would you propose? You've been out there, you've seen what other countries are doing, the conscious efforts that China's and other countries are doing in terms of foreign policy that will inure to the benefit of their countries. Where has Ghana got it right? What more can we do? Just brief thoughts on that.
I think that Ghana, since independence, Ghana has been doing very well in terms of our foreign policy. We are, and by the way, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Relations is really one of the strongest ministries. They are very active in international engagement. I saw them when we set up the SDG advisor role, for SDG advocate role with Ban Ki-moon. When we're setting that role up, our thinking was that we needed a country in Africa that would mobilize the southern part. So we divided the continent in north and south, right? So we needed one African country that can do that. And Ghana was chosen, and President Mahama then was selected to be the SDG advocate. And when, President Mahama lost the election to President Nana Akufo-Addo, we decided to still maintain that position for Ghana, because we're clearly doing a good job. And President Nana Akufo-Addo is a very, one of the things that is credited for is astuteness in international relations. He's one of the fine international diplomats you can imagine. He carried himself very well, in the international stage. So we have done well in terms of maintaining our public image, the role we play in the African Union, in ECOWAS, and so on and so forth. But what we have not done well is actually to leverage this for the benefit of the country. Senegal, at a point, they had the Vice President for Africa for the World Bank being Senegalese. Today, they have the President, number 2 or so, in international IFC, Financial Corporation, being Senegalese. And then they have quite a number of them in the UN system, in the World Bank, and so on and so forth.
Of course, that allows you to also, when you have a proliferation of some of your citizens there, of course, in enacting policy and even some of these World Bank and other arrangements, they speak for you, not just the continent, but their country. Of course, will not be there and look at policies or frameworks that affect them.
If you look at what they have done with infrastructure, the grant aspect of the money that paid for the infrastructure is quite huge. And it's all because you have these people there who will be able to structure the loans and the grants in such a way that it benefits you. So we need to really do that. And, you have countries like Rwanda, the president engages in these sort of things in terms of even positions that are awarded in the United Nations system, that the president actively will call and say, look, this is my candidate for my country. And look at how they are doing. So I think we need to think about that, really, really leverage these institutions so well for our economic benefit. The other thing we need to do is really to think about constructing a country that will become the finest of international trade and international economy in West Africa. Just because of our geopolitical positioning, Ghana is so positioned to be able to do this. We speak very good English. We have good infrastructure in terms of education, high-level education. We can, to the extent that we'll be able to construct a nation where our human capital strategy is so cogent that anybody that wants to invest in West Africa would think about citing the headquarters in Ghana. That's what we need to do. And we need to really, really deliberately invest in that. And today, anybody that wants to lead this country should think about this particular issue of human capital strategy. Because the world is growing in such a way that by 2050, any investor in any world would have to look for 8 out of 10 people of African origin or Africans to be able to field its investment in terms of human resources. And then we are talking about fourth industrial revolution, which is more driven by digital technology. And Ghanaians are very smart people, naturally smart people. So if you leverage this and invest very well, I believe that this country will become, one that you cannot even imagine.
From 2050 onwards, the projections are that the population of youth way over 50% on the African continent. Already we are seeing such signals. So I can see where you're pointing at. But before we talk about leadership, elections, as they are about to come through, and a few other matters, I'd like to talk about this issue of the Global Fund. I'm sure you've followed.
Yes.
And how, medicines and other crucial medical supplies have been stuck at our ports. Now, it's a no-brainer for me because this is the first time in its 22 years or so of existence that we're seeing anything of this sort globally.
Yep.
You followed the story. Tens of millions of products given to Ghana, still sitting at the port, not cleared. Some of them by early next year, first quarter, will go bad. We have to then spend to destroy them. You know how it works. And they feed into SDG 3, which talks about health and well-being. When such things happen, since we're talking about Ghana's international image and we're also talking about health, among other crucial issues, what do you make of it? How does it impact Ghana? Because now the Global Fund is saying, we can't give you any more until you have made good use of what we've already given you. Quick thoughts on that.
Really, it's a very bad signal for the country. And also to think that Global Fund was set up to deal with very sensitive health issues, which affects the development of developing countries. So you have, and these are grants. They are not, you don't pay for these things. Exactly. So we're talking about tuberculosis, issues of tuberculosis, malaria, and HIV, AIDS, and so on. And to think that your citizens actually suffering from these, and there are drugs there for them, and they're stuck in the port and you don't clear them. I just cannot wrap my mind around why we are not doing this. We're not clearing them. And I'm hearing things of taxes that we need to pay to the port and so on and so forth.
The Global Fund will give you about, is it 1 to 2% of the actual figure, so you can clear, which in our case was around $2 million. And we then started telling them that we had increased our port charges. The GRA at a point waived taxes, other requirements were in there. Now I hear there are port charges, but summing up to about 7 million Ghana cedis. And we're basically saying as a country that we don't have 7 million Ghana cedis to pay for some of these things to be released. It's mind-boggling.
You can't have any excuse for this, and what it does to our international image is that we're a country where we just don't care about our citizens, and that's the signal you're sending. Then it begs the question: what is leadership for? It also begs the question of how are you dealing with your people who are suffering from HIV/AIDS, and mind you, Global Fund was set up to deal with these issues because the argument was that Africans or developing countries, with all the challenges they are faced with, they will not be able to raise the adequate financing for some of these drugs, and therefore the Global Fund was set up to go to deliver these things, And here we are not just, the issue is just clearing them, and they're going to go bad in the next 3 months or so. Not to talk about the debts that
by first quarter next year, some of them.
Well, not to talk about the debts that have occurred, as a result of some of these drugs not.
And you know what's interesting? So part of the debt that has accrued, we could have, if we had done this early, but at the port, the longer an item stays, you incur demurrage.
Yes.
And once demurrage also accumulates, then you may have a huge figure to deal with. That is where we find ourselves currently. And I don't know, but the prayer is that we'll be able to, because imagine going to a hospital at some point and some basic necessities. One of the most common illnesses you would find here is malaria.
Yep.
And a hospital doesn't have you know, what you need to treat malaria. That would be quite a situation. And all of that hinges on leadership, which then brings me to my next question. Ghana is at a crossroads when it comes to leadership. Fourth Republic, there have been exchanges of power between the two main political parties, MPP and NDC. It's another electoral year. The MPP is seeking to break the 8. The former president, Mahama, is seeking, for the first time, it's interesting because one party is seeking to do something that has never happened before, break an 8-year cycle. The other is seeking to bring back a former president, not happened in the Fourth Republic before. What do you see when you weigh these two political parties and the things their flag bearers have been saying? What do you see?
First of all, what is very interesting that many people don't talk about is to have two Northerners.
That too. We talk about it, but I just...
to have two Northerners actually vying for the high office of presidency. And I think it speaks something to Ghana, to be honest. If you look at, since independence, the way the North had been crafted, you know, we see that part of the country as having serious challenges. And here we are today. We have two fine individuals, very, very intelligent individuals who are vying for the office of the president, and they are coming from the northern region. So it's a very, very interesting spectacle to have. But then we have seen since the Fourth Republic, what I see is to reiterate your point that we are at a crossroad. And I see the crossroad in the sense of anybody who has been associated with the Fourth Republic in the 1992 to now is either very old in terms of politicians, right? Very old. Some of them are dead. They are invalid. So we are at the point where after this election, we are necessarily, Ghana is going to see, by 2028, we're going to see new faces come into the politics. We're going to see a transition, you know, and this is where I think that is extremely important to have the leadership right at this very particular juncture, because we are not just going to see a shift in our politics, we're going to see a shift in the realms in terms of what Ghana stands for. An accelerated digital economy, we need to, how are we positioning to engage that very youthful population? In fact, in Ghana's situation, 60 to 70% of our 3.35 million people will become youth, will be in the ages of 18 to 25. So I think we are probably looking at a very huge population, a very youthful. And then the poverty is actually accelerating, inequalities is accelerating. And then we have now challenges with our rule of law in terms of, you know, everything that surrounds it. We have deep challenges, huge challenges with corruption, very huge economic challenges as well. So this election should be one that everybody needs to really look at it very well and look and examine the two personalities, not the parties. Look at their personalities and ask yourself which of them will be able to position the country into that future of that I've painted. And I think this is where Ghana is today. And when I look at the policies that most of them are bringing, you know, NDC and MPP seem to approach national development in a similar fashion, right? It's because you know, our major challenge is to deal with the issue of poverty and so on. What I have seen much more with President John Mahama in terms of really pushing this 24-hour economy, which other people, which the MPP say, well, you know, it's happening already. But I think the ethos of the 24-hour economy is very, very interesting. Interesting in the sense that when you look at where Ghana is today, we need to accelerate our economy, right? So you need to look at how we can make very good use of the currency of our time, right? Time is currency is time, right? And so raising a consciousness of Ghanaians to say, look, you have to work hard, work 24 hours. I mean, just that political thinking is very, very important. That philosophy to change our attitude to say, let's work hard. It also highlights the point about efficiency. You know, that, look, you have to make good use of your time. And I think this thing about starting a meeting 2 hours later and so on, this 24-hour economy speaks to that issues of attitude as well. But then it also provides an opportunity to really grow our industrial sector. Just the thought of running a 24-hour economy speaks to the issues of value chain.
But you do know that a 24-hour economy is not just a matter of, it's easier said than done, and it's not just about, oh, we're working 24 hours, or we are working 16 hours, or 14 hours, or whatever the case may be. Other countries, in fact, you have some cities that operate 24-hour economies, and even then, it's not everything. It's not wholesale. There are certain aspects that would. Do you think Ghana is ready?
No, I think Ghana should be ready. And I believe we have no option. We're living in a very fast-paced global economy, all right? And mobile technology and digitization has provided an opportunity to really bring people together. This is where we are seeing the peak of globalization. So, I mean, why can't Ghana become the hub to really service international companies, for example? Our people are very smart, very intelligent, and that speaks again to our human capital strategy. We could be serving South America, companies in South America. We could be serving Chinese and so on, you know. And this 24-hour economy provides that kind of attitude to be able to do that. I don't see it as really an economic policy. I see it more as a socio-economic policy, a policy that really deals with our attitude, deals with our efficiency, deals with our skills that we need to have in order to be able to do this, and deals with everything associated with maximizing industrialization setup, from security perspective, from the skills or the human capital that you need to deploy, and maximize, being efficient with your production factors of production. So I think we are very ready for these things. Which means that it has to appear, the policy implementation must even find itself in schools, from basic education all the way to universities. But one key point you raised, which is very important, is that this 24-hour economy that we talked about is not every sector that is applied. Right? They have to look at the sectors where you can apply it. And the sectors that you need to apply this are really the economic sectors. In agribusiness, for example, you need to really look at that. When you look at trade, the other day I saw that the trade volume in Cote d'Ivoire alone is $11.2 billion of things that they import and so on. And I look at Ghana and I say, look, why can't we become the industrialized hub for major agricultural products? Why can't we do that? So that we'll be the major distribution centers across West Africa, and we are talking 1.3 trillion economy. I mean, if for example
instead of doing that, we are rather getting the basics from other countries, even tomatoes, onions, and the rest.
Onions and tomatoes and pepper and so on. And when you look at our staples, the money involved in our staples, in terms of wealth and value, if you take pepper, for example, I make this analogy that 35 million population, if you look at households of three, a father, mother, and a son or a daughter, then we are talking about 10 million households, right? And in which a family of 10 million households. And if you are growing pepper, every day people eat, and pepper is in the soup that we eat. If you're a pepper seller to 10.5 million households, where you're making maybe 3 Ghana cedis, a month, we're talking about $30 million as a pepper seller. Pepper alone.
And now the price of pepper has shot through the
Right.
roof, actually.
So if you grow pepper, $30 million per month in terms
Ghana
of profit.
cedis.
Ghana cedis.
Right.
30 million Ghana cedis, which is about $3 million, let's say $3 million a month. Then you multiply it by 12. You're talking 36 million a year. Pepper. What about onions? What about other things? So
But you're talking about large scale, and that is one of the other parts of the world I've been in. Some of the richest people there are the farmers.
Yep.
They are the ones who are able to sponsor their children to go into Ivy League universities and all of that without breaking a sweat.
Yep.
Here, we don't have that sort of mechanized, large-scale farming. Very few are in there.
Yep.
Whether it is government-backed or private sector-backed, that is one of our problematic areas. I mean, you imagine that we're having one of the most dismal cocoa seasons we've ever had.
Yeah.
And we're still using a cutlass to break the shell, the pod, get in there. And when someone is using mechanization to do 50 times what you can do within an hour, there's no way we can compete.
The interesting thing is that we have Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And when you go to Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and walk through the thesis of engineering students, it will amaze you. It will amaze you. So we have thousands and thousands of new patents sitting there as theses, never actualized. So the question one asks is, and I'm glad we're talking about leadership, the question one asks is, what is the philosophy of our country, a leadership philosophy around our education? Education for what? Should we just...
What is the end game?
What is the end game?
Or is it education for the sake of education?
For the sake of education. You know, and and in this particular season in which we are in the world, education is one of the important sectors that everyone deals with, because that's what is going to grow your economy. As I said,
since you've gone there, let me just do this as we wind down. Now we have a conversation on free SHS, and whether quantity or quality, but then the bit about let's make it a law. So the future governments are bound by it. And some people have looked at it from different angles, saying, is it the current way it is? There are problems. Should we apply that, or should we just go for it and then fine-tune it along the way? What do you make of that?
No, I think we have to look at our free SHS policy and strengthen the areas where we have challenges. Look, by the way, I feel that we are not managing our economy very well and to leverage the wealth that we need to have. So the economy that is not giving the dividends that we are expecting in order to be able to plow back into free SHS. When you know, you service a debt of 93.5% of your 77 billion GDP per year, you are left with very little to be able to invest in everything that you need to invest in terms of dealing with our health sector, education, and so on. So we have to be very realistic. We cannot make it free and free forever for all, because we can't fund it. The numbers
but free SHS, to be specific, yes, there are problems. WAEC is old. We can't feed students and all of that. But if you look at how much we've been spending on free SHS, it's not outrageous. These are not crazy sums compared to what we spend on other things.
No, yeah. They are not crazy, and I'm not talking about the issues of WAEC and so on. I'm only talking about our ability to fund the free, right? So if you have a free policy, you must be able to put the budget there, and the budget every year doesn't show that we are able to do it. So we have to be very realistic. So we have to go back to say, okay, how much of the free can we give? And be very clear in our policies to say it's free HSS, but free in these particular areas. But certain areas, people need to come in. School feeding. I mean, we had WFP, World Food Program, engage in school feeding. Maybe we should let them increase their budget in the school feeding process. Now, the school feeding itself, we have to look at the content of the nutrition that we give our children. That's also something that we need to deal with. But then, I believe that free SHS is a very, very important policy for us. A very key policy within the context of our human capital strategy. As I said, Ghana should be the country that becomes the hub of everything fine within West Africa. And we have to look at the sectors that are growing within West Africa. Mobile sector is growing very fast, so we should be the country where mobile phones are manufactured or whatever they do, you know. Strategic natural resources, we have to learn from how we use our lithium and the new emerging natural resources that are coming. Today in West Africa, we don't have refineries. Oil and gas is going to grow in several West African countries. Liberia will start thinking about oil and gas because they have it in large deposit, Guinea and so on. Why can't we strengthen our oil refinery and we can make it proper refinery? We need to be refining our oil and gas and adding value to it. We don't need to, we can set up a processing unit that would deal with strategic natural resources that are used for manufacturing of chips and so on. All these mobile phones, and you know that we can do that. So we have to think first how much we want to grow, the wealth we want to leverage within West Africa, and then we tie that, we link that into our education system. Now, once we are able to make that analysis, then investing in free SHS or investing in certain type of skills in education becomes an investment, an economic investment, because the returns will be very high.
So in other words, it's not a bad thing, and no one says it is, but there's a lot more work to be done.
A lot more work to be done, and we need to think through it very well. But also, in a situation where you have such widening inequality, the top, 7% that are making all the money, they should not have their children go to school free. They should be able to pay. So we have to we have to apply needs assessment as well, which means that within the free SHS, there may be people that necessarily have to have everything free because they just can't afford. If you look at a Ghanaian community, as I talked about,
it must be stratified. But those who can afford it shouldn't be part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So
we've run out of time, but I just want to sneak this by you. Our Constitution, as it is, some say it needs a lot of work. Is it fit for purpose? In about a minute, and then we can go.
I think we need to reform our Constitution. Only to change one thing. We need to review our Constitution. Only to change, if we were to change only one thing, what would that be? The executive has too much powers in terms of too much powers. We have to limit the powers of the executive. We have to also deal with this issue of cabinet representation with members of parliament and cabinet representation. A president must be able to choose people that are very smart, skillful, and be able to select them from anywhere. You don't have to force his hand to say, well, select them from members of parliament. With all due respect, honorable members are honorable members. But then what that provision leads you to, that if you have members of parliament, and we've had some before, who cannot read or write or something like that, then you are forced to make them ministers of state. I'm exaggerating, but this is where we are, and I think we need to be.
You may not necessarily be exaggerating. We've seen some things,
so we have to be very careful about that. Yeah,
right. But it's been great having this conversation with you, Dr. Ishmael Nii Dodoo, and we wish you the very best as you go about all the other things you're doing, and also with the Gadangme Alliance for Change. Thank you for having breakfast with us.
Thank you very much indeed.
This has been another installment of AM Exclusive, and I was hosting Dr. Ishmael Nii Dodoo, a former UN official for the Sahel, and he's been here sharing his thoughts on Ghana and everything in between. We'll be serving you AM Business shortly, but before that, here's an invitation I'm throwing to you. Escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, popularly known as Drapa Dubai. You have seen the rest, now it's time to see the best. Take a break from work and take a break from the South. Now, the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai, is the place to relax, rewind, and re-energize. It's away from the stress of the South. God knows this place is stressful. Now, this is what awaits you. An unforgettable safari experience, an amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamuses, zebras, ostriches, among many others, using our spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles or using quad bikes. But there's more. Water sports such as jet skiing, boat or canoe rides, and various family games to keep you and your families excited every day. In addition to all of that, great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rock, Slave Caves, and more. So escape from the South, escape to the North, escape to the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, Drapa Dubai, for an unforgettable safari experience. Now, if you're ready, I'm going to give you some phone numbers to call, starting with 0501 694 280 or 0248 844 463. That is how you can make your reservations or seek further inquiries. But what we are serving you next is AM Business. And in 2023, funding for tech entrepreneurs in Africa reduced by 32% from the $5 billion received in 2022. The shortfall in funding has caused many tech startups to either fold or has hindered the realization of their full potential. The situation is not too different from that of Ghana's. Although the sector holds the potential of transforming the economy, not much has been done to ensure the needed support to boost growth. Now, on AM Business today, my colleague caught up with some stakeholders in the industry to assess the state of Ghanaian tech startups and the development of that ecosystem. AM Business up next on the AM Show. Do stay.
Hello, Darrell. This is the special edition of Let's Talk Tech. We are here at the 3i Africa Summit. And like it says, innovation, investment, and impact. And I have with me here three gentlemen. One, Isaac with Mello Technology. He's actually the CEO of Mello Technologies. He's actually a tech entrepreneur. I have with me also Dr. Stephen Moore, who lectures with the UCC and also the Director of SME Banking at Fidelity Bank. So I'll come to you first. Isaac, help us understand how challenging is it for tech entrepreneurs to, thrive currently?
Yeah, so I guess the foundation of every business is problem solving. So you set out to want to solve a problem and you would hope that you have an enabling environment. The enabling environment obviously is a thriving innovation ecosystem, as reduced taxation, as funding available in the ecosystem. It's just a general, I guess, culture that encourages people to want to build and innovate. The truth is that fundamentally, a lot of structural, cultural belief systems inhibit that innovation approaches to things generally in Ghana. But I mean, those of us that I say we've been cursed with this startup madness, dare to do it anyway. And we continue to do it because we feel like some problems are important to solve.
Let's look at the challenge of funding. Now, part of the summit is to look at funding opportunities for startups like you. Now, how challenging is it? Elsewhere, we have the venture capitalist system where entrepreneurs like you can easily go out there, get a partner, and then you're able to spur to the next level. But here we don't. How challenging is this for you, and what would you want to see in the coming years?
So a thriving venture ecosystem is based on this venture is betting, to be honest, right? It's people believing in early stage business and want to put their money on it. And usually those people are people who have made money off themselves from other things and want to use that as an investment stream. So to be honest, what is going to sell venture is people who have money taking an initiative and wanting to say that we believe technology is the future, we believe local entrepreneurs, young Ghanaian entrepreneurs have the opportunity and betting on them. That's really the only solution. If not, it's not government's problem to solve, to be honest. Venture is not government's problem to solve. Government can do grant schemes, etc. But the innovation ecosystems of the world have not thrived because government dished out money. Government enabled the systems. And so I particularly, for example, I'm not expecting government to keep money. But government also is not doing great at enabling that ecosystem. But when it comes to venture capital, as someone who has $10 million in the bank saying that I want to diversify my investment, and I believe that these young entrepreneurs doing something can do that. So that's really that.
Let me come to you, Alex. Now, Isaac here is trying to talk about some challenges, especially when it comes to funding. He talks about a venture capitalist system elsewhere, but here he's looking at the enabling environment at least. Now, for you as a financial service operator, what are you doing to support entrepreneurs like him?
Okay, so clearly we all have obligation. We all have obligation towards developing the ecosystem for the benefit of us. Yesterday, in the Agric Tech session, my MD, Julian Opuni, indicated that Fidelity had committed herself a substantial amount of money to support techs that want to innovate things in the agri space, just to make sure that we're able to unleash the potential in that side.
How cheap is this funding and how targeted is it?
Yeah, so right now we are saying that do you have any project, do you have any initiative, do you have any innovative that seek to solve a problem in the agri sector? So for example, we all know the normal problem that we have as far as agri space is concerned. I've given money to somebody. We want to understand the yield that is we're expecting. There's maize on the field. Can you use tech to estimate what the expectation is going to be in terms of yield expectation? What tech can do to actually help us to improve the yield that we are expecting from that particular farm? Yesterday in the agri session, we saw that we have seen production improving, not because we are employing technology, but it's because we are increasing the land area that we are actually farming. It's more about the yield that you are getting per hectare and not so much of how much land you are able to put under cultivation. So we are saying that we are ready to fund. Now, we should understand that it must start somehow small, and then we get to a time that we have all tested it, we all know that it is working, then we need to enable it. Now, the Fidelity Young Entrepreneurs Fund, for example, focus on supporting tech initiative. And if we can actually if you have a viable project and you come to us, now we guide you through the process, we give you we take the lending decision, the funding is made available to you, and then now when the benefit comes, all of us do it. Right. And that's the reason why we believe in collaboration, we believe in partnership, and able to develop. Because in some instances, the initial stages, it's not all the time that the lending will do, because you are not too sure of how viable the project is going to be. But your ability to actually partner, understand, and carry us along. Then when we are taking a lending decision, we can do it. We are committed. And that is the reason why the board of Fidelity Bank had actually set up the Young Entrepreneurs Fund that is focusing on tech and other sectors, including agri and others, that we are able to support that.
Right. Now, let me come to Doc. Alex here talks about, they having viable business. That brings up the question about, skill set. Now, what are you doing? I know you lecture and you are also quite keen when it comes to AI, generative AI. And then what are we doing to develop the skill set, the needed skill set to ensure that we have the right people managing these startups so that we can see the growth we all are looking forward to?
Yeah, so I'm quite glad listening to the Fidelity on some of the approaches that they are using. It's very good. Creating ecosystems, and this is what the universities seek for. If the banks have saying they have monies to help train people, the universities are the right environment. So you can go to the university, tell them that we have this money, we have it for entrepreneurs or young people with ideas in these areas. Can you raise a competition? Can we get some competition from this university? 3 students that we can actually support and guide for maybe a period of 1 or 2 years so they reach maturity. So these are very good initiatives. On the other hand, on education, sometimes usually we train the students in many things that somehow they get lost. I would say they get lost in what exactly am I using this for. So things like this from companies, institutions saying we need solutions in these areas will help us train the students in the direction for these kind of build-ups. So this is really what we expect that the industry should come up with. Of course, we train the student, we teach them many things. It's AI, we are teaching them. Since I've been here, since Monday, there are a lot of even self NGOs doing training on AI in the system, and kind of interesting, but really the end products is what matters most.
Where would you say the missing link lie? I mean, looking at academia, looking at industry, how can we bridge this gap?
So the missing link really lies in the silos, because the industry, like I'm listening to the Fidelity, they are on their own, they have their money, they are trying to put out some calls and hope that they will get some people to come and get this buy-in. But this is something they can actually collaborate with a university and say, we have this amount of money. Within this year, we are hoping to raise 2 or 4 or 5 entrepreneurs to solve so and so problems. Can the university come up with students who are being coached by university lecturers or research people to guide them into providing solutions for these? And I think when we do that, then the bridge, we will keep bringing in innovations that can help accelerate the kind of problems that we keep seeing consistently. I mean, on things of not just in agric, but even when we talk about the whole community of the whole country in general. Just this week, I was part of the people who were talking about the ECD hackathon for the Bank of Ghana, for instance. You know, and these are things that we need to accelerate or push for. The Bank of Ghana spent, in 2022, for instance, they spent over 300 million Ghana cedis, printing Ghana cedis for us to spend. So we are using money to print money to spend, and if we can introduce electronic ways of transacting businesses, these 300 million they used could be invested in other facilities, other buildings, roads, schools, or other students who have ideas that we can use. Right. So I think these are things that and AI is really, I always say anything with data, right, that has huge data, right, consistent data, okay, we can always go into AI with that. Okay.
Sure. So there you have it. I mean, collaboration seeks to run through, you know, each of my guests here on set, and we need to do more. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, people working in fragments, you know, institutions working in silos, and we need to do a lot more in terms of collaboration. You know, partnering with, you know, financial institutions like Fidelity, you know, partnering with academia, and also reaching out to young budding entrepreneurs like the CEO from Mello Technologies. And this is what we need to build the right ecosystem when we talk about tech entrepreneurs, when we talk about the tech ecosystem, whether be it fintech, whether be it agri-tech. And thank you so much, Daryl. This has been the special edition of Let's Talk Tech here right from the 3i Africa Summit. My name is Isaac Osei. Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. Now, what do you know about sickle cell disease? And did you know that the 19th of June is set aside as a world to mark Sickle Cell Awareness Day? Let's find out now what activities that have been happening, you know, as a build-up to celebrate this day. I have with me in the studio Dr. Mary Ansong. Dr. Mary Ansong is co-founder and CEO of International Sickle Cell Center. And I have Francois Agbokame, the president of Sickle Cell Disease Support Group. And I also have Awo Chumesi, the executive director of Sickle Gene Action. Welcome to the studio, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I must say that what you're doing is commendable, shedding light on what sickle cell disease is, the challenges, and, you know, debunking some of the myths that are associated with the disease. But since there are 3 different organizations here, let's take turns and ask what each organization does. They're all NGOs, right?
Yes.
And what are some of your core values? I'll start with you, Dr. Mary Ansong.
Okay, so the International Sickle Cell Center is a registered non-profit organization in Ghana and was founded in March 2021. And our vision is to ensure that widely accessible sickle cell education, support, treatment and cure for those who need it most, like those with sickle cell disease and the treat as well, to ensure they have the needed quality of life. And our mission looks at 3 main areas: sickle cell education and advocacy, research, and providing pragmatic interventions. And our interventions also focuses on medical support and then social support.
Right.
Now, social is broken down into back-to-school programs and then employment and entrepreneurship programs to help especially mothers who have children with sickle cell disease and thrive and care for them. So that's what ISCC does. And last year, we screened over 6,000 people for their sickle cell status, diagnosed sickle cell disease in more than 200 people. Unfortunately, we lost 2 of them last year, and that's the basis for this year's campaign, You Are Not Alone, to raise awareness about sickle cell disease.
We'll get to the campaign, but first,
Sure.
let's understand what each of these organizations do. So I'll come back to you on the campaign bit. But Francois, what do your organization do?
So thank you very much for the opportunity, and good morning to all Ghanaians. Sickle Cell Disease Support Group of Ghana is basically the patient advocacy representative of all patients living with sickle cell disease across Ghana. We aim at keeping patients abreast with how to live with sickle cell disease. On day-to-day basis, we tackle individual topics that are necessary to improving the lives of persons with sickle cell disease. So basically, we are also backing ISCC, Sickle Gene Action, and all NGOs to win the fight against sickle cell disease.
Great.
Yeah. So
that's a
basically,
fantastic work you're doing, because most people don't have the support that you just talked about. And this is something, you need all the support. I know a few people who are living with sickle cell, so I can appreciate the work you do. Awochumesi, what about you? Your organization and your core values?
Sickle Gene Action is birthed out of what do you call it? Advocacy support and strengthening patient voice within Ghana. So for me, it's been a 16-year journey, because I have family, I have ward that have sickle cell disease. And where my advocacy support started was 5 years ago, when I helped co-found the Sickle Cell Association of Greater Accra Regional Hospital, Ridge Hospital. And then so with the success there, I saw a need to take this up the national stage and make sure that what we've been able to apply at Greater Accra Regional Hospital, we're able to do it in other parts of the country. And our focus is mainly ensuring that we're able to save lives of people with sickle cell disease by ensuring early action, early access to treatment of care, early advocacy, support, and services. So that encompasses a lot of things. We empower patient groups, we mobilize patient groups, we legislate with our government to ensure that there are laws in place to protect us, to afford us some necessities when it comes to our medications, treatment, support, and services. So that's what Sickle G.
Right. Now let's talk about the campaign. I know that the theme for this year's Sickle Cell Day is Hope Through Progress, Advancing Sickle Cell Care Globally. But what's this campaign that all these wonderful organizations have come together to embark on? Tell me a bit about the campaign now, Marianson.
Okay, so it's the You Are Not Alone campaign to help people living with sickle cell disease know that they are not alone, not just them, but then caregivers who are struggling so much with the condition to also know that they are not alone. So we hope to provide medical care for at least a year for 100 people living with sickle cell disease in different regions across Ghana. And a lot of these people are those that we screened, and we realized that they were not going to the clinic regularly due to financial constraints. We also are looking forward to having a conference this Saturday at the Tank Palace Hotel, and is to raise awareness still about sickle cell disease. The theme of the conference is the current state of sickle cell disease in Ghana, progress made, challenges, and the way forward. Because I acknowledge that the global theme is hope through progress. So the question is, what's the progress that has been made? Is it a hopeful progress? Or it's a very slow progress? And what's the way forward so that we could also say boldly that there is hope through progress when it comes to sickle cell disease in Ghana? We'll also be creating educational audios and videos which will be aired on your station thanks to the kind support of Mr. Ken Ansah. We are very, very grateful to him. And we will have this played as well. And there are so many things. A blood drive, I forgot to mention that. It's a major part of it's a major part of this campaign. If you can't support financially, you can support someone with blood, because blood cannot be manufactured in the lab. And we are doing this with the strong support of the National Blood Service, Ghana Health Service, and other partners.
I'll come back to Awo on some of the expectations and activities that entails this campaign, but I want to find out from Francois, what do you hope to do differently this year? You are offering support for people living with sickle cell. What do you hope through this campaign can be done differently? I mean, for anyone who either living with or knows someone living with sickle cell disease.
Thank you. Basically, we want both persons living with sickle cell and the newly diagnosed to embrace the new hope and to understand that they are not alone in this journey. And we think this campaign is very important, especially when it comes to raising awareness, and then making sure that when a person goes on emergency admission and need blood, that person can access blood. And therefore, we commend the great work by ICC, and we think it is in the best interest of all persons living with sickle cell disease. And I use this platform to appeal to all friends, relatives, or persons living with sickle cell disease to be present at the venue, bring their loved ones to come and donate. Because as Doc rightly said, blood cannot be manufactured. And persons living with sickle cell disease, blood slaughter out, lies faster than those who are not sickle cell disease, and they stand at a higher risk. And therefore, we hope to, through out more hope, enlighten all persons living with sickle cell disease that there is hope.
Indeed, there is hope. And I'm sure you can relate that there is hope. You were telling me about your child who also has sickle cell.
Yes.
How does it feel as someone parenting someone who, I understand sickle cell patients or those living with the disease need a lot of attention, comparatively more than normal people. How does it feel? And how do you navigate that?
Well, the good news about all of this is that currently there are revolutionary medications that have helped in managing sickle cell disease. One very good one is called hydroxyurea, and a lot of the people in the sickle cell community can attest to that medication as being very, very helpful in decreasing crisis and actually preventing people from going into the hospital for care and service. The good thing about this particular medication is that it's also on our NHIS. So it's covered by NHIS, and so we encourage people...
Now this is important information.
Yes, we encourage people to enroll in NHIS, and so that they can also access the medication. However, the medication is one that has to be monitored by a doctor. So you want to make sure you're following through with your medical practitioners, your sickle cell clinic, so that they can monitor you while you're on this medication.
Okay. Now talk to me about expectations for the 15th of June, right? And then the actual day, which is 19th of June. What are some of the activities leading up to the day, or what are some of the resource people coming to speak to the people? What's happening?
Okay, I'll let Mary start and then I can jump in, yes.
Okay.
I'll come back to you.
So we are looking forward to having representatives from the World Health Organization, Ghana Health Service, National Blood Service, NOP Foundation, the NHIA, and we'll be talking about, like I mentioned, what the progress that has been made so far, the challenges that we face as a country. And we know Ghana Health Service has a strategic group that's developing policies for sickle cell disease. So we'll ask them how they are going to make sure that people have access to what they've put on paper. So these are some of the things that we'll be talking about at the conference, plus the blood donation, the educational videos and audios, and the awareness creation that we've all come together to create. We'll also be doing more of this on social media as well. So watch out for our educational flyers, sponsored ads and all.
Now I want details, so dates, when, where, just so that it stays top of mind for our audiences. Dates, where, when, time, and it's actually on your screens right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can walk us through that.
Oh boy, so this is for the conference on Saturday the 15th. So Saturday the 15th, it's going to start at 9 a.m. till 12 noon. But the blood drive is throughout the process. So if you come early, you get your blood, you can donate blood and leave, or you can stay through the conference. We urge people to stay through the conference because it's going to be very insightful and exciting. We have a lot of exciting things to look forward to.
When you talk about donating blood, what should we know before we come to donate blood? Should you eat something? Should you not eat something? What's the mindset, really? That's my last question to you, and then I'll give you each 30 seconds to appeal to the audience to come and support.
Okay.
What are the key things to note when you're coming to donate blood?
Do you want me?
Yes,
okay, so
the first doctor here. So.
Okay, so I'll say that the first thing is fear kills people. It kills dreams, and don't think about the fear of needles or anything. Think about the impact that you are going to. Yeah, think about the impact that you are going to make. So first and foremost, sleep. Have a good rest, and make sure that you eat well, take water, and then come with your friends.
Okay.
And then when you come, just think about the people that is going to help. And I think it's just a small amount of blood that has been taken, about 500 mils. It's not a lot, and it wouldn't take anything from you. And then we'll have some drinks with finger foods as well.
Yeah.
And then games.
Okay.
Games on Wheels is partnering with us to provide some wonderful games for people as well.
Create an atmosphere of fun,
Yeah.
donate some blood, save a life. Now,
Yes.
I'll give you each 30 seconds to look directly in the camera, speak to our audiences, ask them to come out and support and come and donate blood to you. I'll start with you. I will.
Absolutely. You know, we're excited about World Sickle Cell Day, and we urge everybody to come and donate blood, especially our churches. Please come with people, come with a lot of people to donate blood. And just think of this, if you're donating blood, you are saving a life. Just think about that when you come. The minute you donate blood, you're saving somebody's life. So come out on Saturday at the Tang Palace. Come, let's donate blood. Let's learn more about sickle cell disease. Let's debunk myths about blood donation, about sickle cell as well, and learn something new. Thank you.
Fantastic. Francois.
You know, barely all patients diagnosed with sickle cell disease, of course, in sub-Saharan Africa, about 75% of annual diagnosis of sickle cell disease is in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
Because the awareness is not in place, and therefore, barely those who are diagnosed at early ages barely make it to 5 years of age. Yes, majority of them die before 5 years of age, and most of the hospital admission are due to complications, vaso-occlusion and all that, and then unfortunately due to lack of accessibility to blood, and therefore we urge the general public to come out, bring your loved ones to come and donate at this event and save someone's life. And you can reach us on our various social medias, on Facebook, the Sickle Cell Disease Support Group, on LinkedIn, and then you can reach ISCC and Sickle Gene Foundation all the time. So watch out for more to come, and then be rest assured, you are not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone.
You are not alone campaign.
Yeah.
Mary, bring us home.
Yeah, so just like Francois said, if you have sickle cell disease, we need you to know that you are not alone. We see you, we know what you feel, and you can join us in the campaign. It takes, if we all put our voices together, that's what's going to bring the change that we want to see in sickle cell disease in Ghana. So don't stay in your rooms and your homes. Join us at Tang Palace and help us make noise. And if you can support us, the number is 0599 599 You can reach us there, or ISCC Ghana on Facebook, so Instagram, LinkedIn, and we will be happy to speak to you. If you can't support financially, you can support with your blood, like we said, and you are not alone.
There you have it, You Are Not Alone campaign. And my guest, Dr. Mary Anson, co-founder and CEO of International Sickle Cell Center, Francois Agbokame, president of Sickle Cell Disease Support Group, and Awochumesi Sickle Gene Action, the executive director. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this. And I think the work you're doing is incredible. Keep it up. And I'll try and come there myself to donate some blood.
Awesome.
That would be lovely.
All right, so there's still more to come on the AM show. Stick and stay. We'll be right back. In this day and age where a lot of people want to jackpot, let me bring you some details on how you can get there faster. And my guests in the studio, Adegoyi and Sheyi.
Right.
So please, what's your name?
All right, my name is Sheyi Otun.
Sheyi Otun.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chief
And-
Financial Officer,
Okay.
Vesti Technology Incorporation, US. And I have here my colleague.
Victoria Adegore. I'm the HR lead for Vesti.
Okay, so what does Vesti do?
All right, Vesti is a migration fintech company that facilitates the mobility of human and capital globally. So we are not the jackpot company, like you said, but we are a company that facilitates the movement of special talent individuals from Africa to countries like the US, UK, Europe, and the world at large for global importation, basically.
Okay, what specific support do you offer, Vic?
We offer migration support services. We offer financial services.
As in visa assistance,
accommodation. Exactly, accommodation, visa assistance, and every other support. From the moment they begin to think about emigrating to a new country till they get settled in the new country.
Okay, so how do individuals who are interested apply or get in touch with you?
All right, so to do that, the first step is to go to our website, at wevesti.com. All right, and book a clarity session. So it's more like, what's the word? It's more like an interview with our immigrant lawyers. We have immigrant lawyers in these countries, in US, in UK, our attorneys, exactly. Immigrant attorneys all over. So they give you the best advice tailored for you, not the general. So they'll ask you certain questions and they give you the best advice tailored for you. And immediately you come on that call and that has been sorted, and you choose to do it with Vesti, we take every process and everything after that.
Okay. So lastly, before we go, how much impact have you made so far?
Oh, great. We've made so much impact in Africa. We have helped over 100 to move. Professionals, bankers, doctors, lawyers, even business owners. And with that, we are having an event tomorrow. We're having an event tomorrow here in Ghana at the Airport View Hotel.
Okay.
At the Airport View Hotel in Accra. And this is the second event. We had one last year.
Right.
And we're having another one. So help again. So we are inviting everyone. If you're a business owner, if you're a professional, just think about it. You're looking to move abroad to go and make impact, to go and learn, to go and do one or two things that will make you that special talent, that special individual. Come tomorrow. Everything is even free. It's free.
Okay.
Coming is free.
That's all I needed to hear. It's absolutely free. Vesti for you. So tomorrow at the, what's the hotel?
Airport View
Airport View Hotel.
3 p.m.
All you need to know, 3 p.m. Vesti International, helping you with all you need to get to travel. And that's how we're wrapping up the AM show this morning. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akapo. But Joy News Desk is up next with Faustina Safo. Stick and stay.